Hello and welcome to episode 150 of the Imperial Truth. My name's Greg. Joining me as usual, Mr. Howard.
Hello, Greg. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, man. You?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you. Pretty good.
Excellent stuff. Did you buy anything over the Element Black Friday offer? The 5 times crystals?
I did, actually.
I had stuff to get, and I was like, it can wait. I definitely need to get it in the next few months. I was like, 5 times crystals? Yeah, I'll get it now.
Yeah, it did bring forward some things we've been thinking about, which was a friend of mine, it's recommended to a friend of mine to pick up some of these Pro Acryl paints, and Element are I think the only UK retailer. And they have them in stock, which I understand is not a common thing, because they in the past have been tricky to get a hold of. I think that's overcome. So he picked up a bunch of those. I jumped on a few of those, and I got some Tamiya green and blue paint. Again, surprisingly difficult to get hold of that. I couldn't find any at Salute. So I picked up a Tamiya blue and a green for some pending possible Sons of the Hydra that I might do if a certain box set comes around the corner.
Who knew? I kind of, everything's gone quiet on that box set. People have just settled into the waiting time, and then I heard someone talking about like, oh, if it happens before this, and I'm like, oh, don't just got into this mode of like, it will happen at some point, but we don't need to worry about it. And then as soon as people bring it up again, it's like, oh, now I'm thinking about what I'm going to do when it comes, when it's not even here, and we don't even know it's real.
Oh, no.
You know, but yes, yeah. Oh well, it is life. Yeah, particularly with Dungeon Bowl coming out, I grabbed that because Blood Bowl's amazing. In fact, I played a game last night against the new Khorne team, and I left him with no players on the pitch. End of turn 7, second half, and he made 3 out of 4 knocked out rolls to get 3 players on the pitch so he could legally kick off, which was quite fun. But which is always good fun. But yeah, got that, and then Balin's Tomb for Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Do you see the price on that?
Funny you should mention that, as I am part of a family secret Santa.
Right.
And I could not think. I'm in the fortunate position. There was nothing I was sort of. I've got too much to build and paint anyway, so hobby stuff I wasn't allowed to really. So I was trying to think what to get to request on this thing, because you get a list and someone gets it randomly. Suddenly was suggested by a friend, and it hadn't really crossed my radar. And it actually looks like a damn good little box, that.
Yeah, that first. I mean, with the extra 20% the first week on Element, 36 quid.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was 36 quid, wasn't it?
It's just quite a good little self-contained board game at that point.
It's fantastic value when you think of other board games with miniatures and stuff like that in. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find one at 36 quid, and it's the kind of thing where, okay, my nephew's probably not ready to play that yet, but in a couple of years he might. He likes board games. Whether he'll like miniature gaming, who knows? I don't think Emma would be up for it, but there's a chance that she might. There might be just too much, not enough. It might be too much openness. Too many choices to make. But it's the kind of thing where if you've got a family who are a little bit into board gaming, they could also because it's a nice little self-contained game.
Yeah.
As well as being all the cool models. So, I mean, you think about it, it's 9. The Fellowship's nine characters.
Yeah.
Just for that price alone, it's not bad.
Quite, and it just does, particularly at a good time, just as a little mini project. It is a rather change of pace. Yeah. So that's kind of come out of nowhere. They sold out of it on GW.
Oh, did they? I didn't even see.
It's all gone from there, so it might be quite tricky to get a hold of.
Yeah, but yeah. Got that all turning up, so that should turn up Saturday. Good, that would go on to my pile of potential. Sit there for a little while. Yeah, it's all good. Fantastic service as usual. I ended up, because I got a giant as well, I was like, oh no, I need my 4th Mega Gargant to paint for the event. I was like, oh, might as well get it now. This was the thing that I was like, didn't need to buy for a couple of months, but I was like, might as well get it now. There we go, it arrives the next day, ready to be built. Boom, no fuss. It's rather good.
Still good, that. Still good.
Oh, so useful. So useful. Yes. You been hobbying like mad? Working
Well,
like mad?
yeah, bit of both of those, really. Titanicus has become back on
Oh,
the
right,
menu.
yeah.
So I've been working up. Actually, I'm working on some terrain for that. I've been trying to get these excellent Forge World boards that I managed to eventually, after a long and painful saga, we managed to get up hold of some of those, and very very enjoy playing games on them. So I'm trying to get a bit more paint on those, just to lift them up a little bit. I had a game at the weekend, which was nice to get the Titans out again. It was a vicious Legio Defensor versus Mortis game. Which was a fairly early decapitation from the. Turns out, charging the famous Alpha Strike Loyalist Legio with Mortis was perhaps not the smartest move.
Right,
There was a
yeah.
lot of choice. So the early decapitation of my Warlord was a bit of a
Oof.
bitter pill. Yeah, it literally took the head off it as it ran towards them. The Brawler Warlord running, stomping down the streets. They just executed it, which was made the rest of that game tense. So that was a fun session. Trying to get some paint on those, doing some printing off some new terrain for that, some big stuff, some big highly detailed stuff. So looking forward to that. Still got some Thousand Suns on the bench here. They've come on a little bit, been doing gold trim stuff like that, and yeah, I think that's. I probably need to. I really want to try and get those built to about a 1,500 point little force. I think that would be
Sure.
a good place to be. So I think I've got the slightly daunting task of building a Dreadclaw drop pod
Oh, lovely.
coming up, and famously easy and enjoyable kit to build. And I also finally managed to get my hands on one of the plastic Thunderhawks, which turned out to be like gold dust at the moment until they restock them all across the board. Managed to find some in stock, so I've got one of those. I'm quite looking forward to building one of those one evening in front of the TV. So yeah, the flitting between different little projects at the moment, which I'm rather enjoying. That's the way I tend to hobby. What about yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, a busy weekend. Last weekend we ended up at Harry Potter World and went up the night before and had a meal out for my old man's 70th birthday, and then he's got a second celebration next weekend somehow. I don't quite know how that's happened. We spent far too much money on him. So, like, worked Saturday, went straight up after work Saturday. That whole weekend was a wipeout on hobby. And that's the time that I get most done, really. So yeah, we're starting working on Mega Gargant number 1 out of 4 for this event in April. But got some demons out ready to get ready to paint. Mind you, I've also got 3 vampire counts sitting here for my old world project that need to get some paint on some point. There's too much, and then like playing Blood Bowl and then buying Blood Bowl teams, they got to be built. I've got a nice little undead Blood Bowl team here ready to go, and yeah, just need to
Do need
concentrate
to.
on.
You saved Blood Bowl. I need to start building some of those teams. I've got a few teams kicking around, which just because the models
Yeah,
are incredible. The beauty of those types of things is they're not multi-pose. I find an
yes,
evening, in particularly, rather than a weekend, where you've got perhaps you can only grab a little bit of time. Putting together a mono pose model. I'm looking at Underworlds here, or
yeah,
or Blood Bowl teams, is really quite nice. I tend to obsess over the multi-part kits, and I want the coolest pose. I want it to
right,
tell a
yeah.
story. I want to do all of this. That is not something you can do when you are completely going into mind neutral shutting down kind of thinking in
Eh,
front of TV. It's like that needs some foreground thinking. But
yeah.
monopose, not so much. It can be quite
Every,
rewarding.
every now and then when I get, I was sitting there painting a model, I'm like, I just can't face to paint that tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just build some of these models as well. I find that can sometimes be a nice little thing to do.
Yeah, I know what you
But
mean.
I've got, I had a few days off the other week, and like one day, I don't know how, but the time just disappeared. Next day, did a little bit, but yeah, it went and disappeared on doing lots of little jobs, and like all 3 days, I did like no more hobby than I would normally would do. So frustrating, but often happens. Uh, so like and I'm looking at Christmas thinking the same's going to happen for that whole Christmas period, isn't it? Like I'm away for 4 days over Christmas, so no hobby then. But um, the other days around it, what am I going to be able to get done? There'll be the problem is because we're away, there'll be a little bit of, oh well, we must go around and see the family anyway, and I'll spend less time around there, but I still won't be able to just do what you want to do kind of thing.
That
Just want
said,
to
though,
just
if there's pressure on your time, often you can get more done that way. It's when you've got this. The
yeah,
ones I find most frustrating is when I've got a clear stretch and I'm
sure,
like,
yeah,
I'm going to build I'm going to build and paint an entire army today. Of
yeah,
course I am. And then I was like, oh, I've built a single Terminator.
exactly,
That
yeah,
was a good job, wasn't it? Because
yeah.
you end up just almost procrastinating on the whole thing.
The pressure's all right, I find, if you can get started. But
Yes,
sometimes it's just even sitting down to start is like, oh really? Like
yeah.
I've got to do this and got to do that, and then you end up not really getting anything done. And I've just sat there and thought, oh shoot, I need to send some eBay parcels off, which I need to sort that out tonight. Okay, it's another thing that takes up a little bit of time. There we go. But
Mind you,
it's
what sharpens the
could be
mind,
worse.
which is I suppose you're facing this with your Gargants, is an event, which of
Yeah,
course we're starting to see a few more of those now.
yeah, absolutely. They are
Seeing
starting
a
to
lot
pick
more
up.
people talk about those. Some quite cool looking Titanicus events going on. There's been a lot of talk about those going on. Hearing reports come out of different sources about those, and people really thoroughly enjoying them again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they're lining up for 2022. I do wonder kind of what's going to be going on in a few months in this country. Um, I've got a feeling that they're going to do everything they can not to have a lockdown because they will perceive that some people will not be fans of going into a lockdown, whether we should or shouldn't is irrelevant. That if the government do it, they'll maybe worried about losing some votes down the line, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm not like I'm in a weird place, like with events, and I'm don't get me wrong, I still want to be going to Adepticon, so it's a bit of a hard one to kind of think about too much.
Well, particularly when it's something that's it's out of your control. Of course,
Yeah, yeah,
it's going to. There's things that
but
I
it's
say
that
that you can
planning thing,
take
isn't it?
steps, can't you? Yes, exactly. You can take, but you're having to almost take bets now on that, which is a tricky place to be.
Well, yeah, I think if you're buying any expensive hotel rooms or flights or any other kind of travel, and you maybe have to pay an extra fiver to be cancelable,
Do
then
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's worth it, isn't it? So
Mind you, a lot of places now, a lot of places I've seen because they are keen to keep the business going and recover, they are offering that anyway.
yeah,
We booked
yeah,
a
there's
little
a few.
break after Christmas, and it was at a holiday thing that doesn't normally do this, but it's completely flexible. They didn't
Yeah,
normally offer that in years gone by. Now it's up to the day you go. You can cancel it or for no reason whatsoever.
yeah.
And
My
that's
Chicago
quite a lot
hotel's like
going.
that,
Yeah.
which is good. I just need to make sure the flights are like that as well, and that'll be the two big expenses kind of covered. I've got money set aside for it from my cancelled original COVID trips, but yeah, it's good to know that that money won't disappear. It will just be absorbed into something
Yeah.
else instead. But you know, that is life. It's just what it is. But yeah, it's all good. Not anything strictly heresy going on yet, but lots of thinking about it. Listening to a few podcasts and stuff.
Did
I never had the big loss that a lot of people did, the big lull. But the more you hear about people being excited, the more it does drive those juices.
Yeah, absolutely. It builds a momentum, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I found that certainly at the moment. I find that momentum is quite inspiring. Just makes you keen to get on and build some things. I have been working on flexing the 3D modeling and 3D printing skills. I've been developing a track set for some land raiders to try and make those a little bit more heresy friendly, which is just giving those a go. That's in progress at the moment. In preparation for what might come, of course.
awesome. That's yeah, the way to do it. Yeah, I've been lining up a couple of games. There's a guy who's just joined our gaming group. Paid 40k, I think. All his posts were 40k based, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm selling a Salamander's Heresy army," and I'm like, and no one really bit on it, and I'm like, "Why are you selling, dude?" Like, just he's like, "Oh well, this that." I'm like, "Well, this other guy I play. There are a couple of people who can come to the club and play, and he's like, oh well, that guy over there we play very occasionally, haven't done for ages, and I'm like, well, there's a community, so who knows? Be good to maybe do that, but there's lots of games to choose from. It's all groovy. So, should we? There's not a huge amount that's happened since our last recording because of the nature of the way we're trying to get back on some sort of schedule. We've got book 3 and book 7 in soft cover out, which is good if you're looking for those gaps in
Have
your.
you got
So,
any of the soft covers?
not at the moment, no, not yet.
Are you going to
Why
get
is
some
it?
soft covers?
Yeah, I want to replace because I sold. Oh, I've got one black book left. One hardcover, so they need to be replaced. Yeah, why is that?
I just wonder what they were like, and because I think
Apparently,
they're
the
actually quite a
quality
good
is
idea
significantly lower.
but
But
to meet the price point. Well, that's kind of makes sense. I just
yeah,
wonder if they're more practical because
well, yes, they
obviously
will be
black
more
books are tricky for as a gaming
big
aid. Not
time.
that you're really necessarily using them for that, really. But I mean, I was thinking playing Titanicus at the weekend. The softback rulebook was way
yeah,
more usable than the hardback.
yeah. My only worry is like when you're transporting them to and from, they're going to get damaged a lot easier. So they're not going to be as pristine if you put chucking them in a bag or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, as a guy who played Mechanicum early on, carrying 3 books just to be able to play my army was not fun.
Quite significant books at that.
Yeah, exactly. Those 3 books were heavier than almost everything everyone else, my opponent was bringing, just by themselves. That was before there was any army involved. So yeah, but they're good. The early books, particularly, most of what you're getting out of there is the campaign stuff and the lore, the gaming rules. A lot of them have been superseded, but it's good to have them. How much are they?
I want to say they're £80, but I'm not sure.
How much?
No, hang on, that's crazy. That's the
Yeah,
price
but
of the hardbacks.
that's
that's
wrong.
mad. That's what I'm talking about.
That's definitely wrong.
Yeah, that's rubbish.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to get them now, it's your only way to be able. Blooming capture every time on Forger on there.
I've just had the same thing.
It's such a pain, especially because it always seems to make you do it twice.
That's classic captures, but yes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just so frustrating. It's like, no, I definitely picked the 4 buses. Like, I'm not a complete moron. Campaign books. Here we go. Oh, they're 50 quid.
50? I was going to guess at 40.
Yeah, 40.
Let's not guess. Let's look it up.
Wow. It's 50. It's
Where
still
are
expensive.
Where
Under
are they?
Horus Heresy campaign books. Horus Heresy.
Gaming accessories.
Horus Heresy books. No, they've got a subsection called Horus Heresy books under Horus Heresy. But yeah, I mean, some of the other ones have been 45, so maybe it depends on the size. I know 7 was decent. They've been 45 before for the other ones.
That's why I was thinking,
and 40 for Massacre.
Yeah, okay. Book 5, Book 1, they were all 45.
But, fact, I mean, with the nature of the way printing's gone the last year, that's maybe not so much of a surprise, but the problem is, I mean, okay, Book 3 and Book 7 aren't necessarily the most expensive ones if you went to buy them, but if you want to get Book 4 or Book 6, you're looking at £300 plus on eBay.
Yeah.
It's not small money, unfortunately.
They are very nice, and it's great to have as a collection. But that is, you got to be thinking it through, wouldn't you? At those
you got to be a pretty determined collector to do that. Yeah, I mean, Book 4, you can I don't know. I think the prices might come down, like on because Black Library, the prices for the Solar War got up to £1,100 for one book, and then was sitting at 750, 650 for a while, 800. There were a few around that price, and now it's dropped down to 500-ish. So there's been a slight tail off in some of the Black Library books, but Book 4 could have got you 450. You could have got 450 for that. Book 8, 400. Yeah, so when you're paying 50 quid rather than that, but It's crazy, but that's collecting. That's the nature of collecting. It happens with everything that's collectible. If you want to collect everything, you've got to be prepared to pay. You know.
Well, indeed. Yeah.
So
What else have we had? It was news. We've had a son. The guy who was suspiciously missing has stepped out in his
indeed,
Terminator
yeah,
plate.
yeah. I said I thought I was surprised that he wasn't then released, but they've obviously kept that back. And one of the best Horus Heresy models, like in a while.
Interesting. You're a fan.
Oh, it's amazing. It's a phenomenal model.
Interesting. I like it. I perhaps wouldn't have gone instinctively to quite such high praise.
I mean,
I personally
for
think the
just
Imperial Fist
like
ones are
yeah, no,
cracking.
the Imperial Fists are up there. I think this is up there with them, if not better.
Okay.
He is menace. Like I love how you make a Terminator look menacing.
Yeah, true. I
Is
also quite like how he's got his what I assume is a combi melter, although from this angle it looks like
yeah,
a melter. Um, Look, actually, I think to go to the Forge World website. I'm on the Warhammer community one, so I'm not seeing it at its best. Looks tiny, so I guess suggesting he's quite a big, imposing character, which you would kind of want
yeah,
from your leaders, wouldn't you? Really?
absolutely.
Yeah,
I could
no,
see. I mean, I've
beast.
heard some people talking about making him into Abaddon, or Abaddon, should I say?
Oh, interesting.
Which I think he's got quite a good basis for doing that. Where is he? Trying to find him on the Forge World website.
I don't think he's out yet. Is he pre-ordered?
No, he's not. Maybe he's not.
No, he's not out yet.
Won't be
Still
long.
under pre-order or new releases is Remus Mentanus.
Yeah, not quite there yet, but he is. Yeah, because it was only Legion Dispatch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's a beast. Like they're almost a triple layered shoulder pad on the right. I know it's just the eye, but it almost makes it look like it's got that extra protection on it. Yeah, he's bad, eh? And with a and with a back banner that actually sort of works. I'm not always the biggest fan of the back banners. I know lots of nostalgic people are. Not always nostalgia, but a little bit of it is. But I think it's
There's
baller.
something that it's making it. I know it might be the way they've modelled it. It's particularly good. It's got a real Legion standard kind of feel to it,
Yeah,
rather than a personal, rather than looking like a paper flag that people have attached to their
yeah. I mean, yeah. If you took, I don't know if I haven't got my book on me. It's on the shelf, but I don't know if the Delegatus or someone like that. I don't know all the rules on what armors they can all take. But if you had some of the other Centurion models to use this as, that could be quite cool. And it'll be an easy, if you don't like the mace, it's an easy swap over as well. Although the mace looks brutal, so that kind of it does fit.
It's a nice choice to go with the mace. A bit more variety in there. You don't really see those.
Oh, I mean, sadly, you don't see them for gaming reasons, but yeah.
For now.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is yeah, exactly. At the moment, why would you have that instead of a Paragon blade? You just wouldn't. There's almost no point. But you know, it doesn't. You don't always have to take the best option.
No.
So, but yeah, no, he is fantastic model. That was really good.
Yeah, big fan.
In fact,
big
when
fan
was this? 15th of November. Okay, cool. Because they do seem to be most of the Legion dispatches have been around the middle of the month. Haven't it's never been quite so it's not quite as regular as we would all like them to be. I think if it was the 15th of every month, that would have been great. But we've had some splattered around. But it's always good to kind of go, oh yeah, we're middle of the month. There might be a Legion dispatch. It's quite a nice.
Might be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the heresy players lot, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't get too excited.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, sorry. That is half the heresy players lot. The other half is like, oh, we're definitely getting shown the new box this week, with absolutely no hints that that's actually happening. You can sit in one camp or the other, but yeah, it's been fairly quiet apart from that.
Yeah. There hasn't been a great deal of rumbling around, has there? Or rumours rolling out, particularly after all the kerfuffle that we've had recently.
Things do. I mean, this year's different for GW. Things do tend to get quieter towards Christmas. So we've got the army boxes being released this coming weekend.
There's been a fair bit of rumblings of rumours, which and they feel like sort of old school rumours because the sort of rumour mill had been somewhat curtailed by their own announcement of things. 40k recently has been getting a few more rumours. There was a big Eldar rumor
Oh yeah, I
breaking.
heard,
Whether or not,
yeah.
who knows if that's true? But it was extensive. It was so extensive. It makes you think. I'm not so sure, or some
Yeah,
of this
sure.
might not be
Yeah.
true because there was so much of it. But
What made
there's
me
a few of
laugh?
those coming
A,
around.
a friend turned around to me and said, "Apparently the Eldar are getting loads of new models," and I'm like, "Yeah, I mean they're bound to at some point." He's like, "Oh yeah, apparently new plastic striking scorpions." I'm like, I'm amazed that they haven't got all new plastic. Um, what do we call them? Squads already.
Yeah,
Like, it's been a long time. Like this amazing rumor is it's like yes and. I know,
yeah, quite.
it's a little bit like, yeah, of course they are. It's about time. Like, why is it not here already?
Well,
Um,
even more so, it's the one that I made me laugh was the there's rumor of in that range they're going to release plastic warp spiders. The warp
right.
spider models they're still using the second edition
Yeah, exactly. Well,
warp
they
spider
half the
models.
aspect warriors are second edition. Like,
Not quite. A lot of the
no,
aspect
not
warriors have
quite.
had a quite a lot. I
Oh
think it
yeah, sorry,
might
they got
only be the
redone,
warp
didn't
spider.
they? Yeah,
Once or twice, in fact.
yeah. The swooping hawks
Some of
got the
them like
second.
dragons were on the third, I think,
Fire
iteration of
dragons,
those now.
maybe. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah,
Dire
fire dragons.
Avengers. Yeah, they got the plastic set, didn't
Yeah,
they?
they've got a plastic set.
Yeah, yeah, you are right.
You had the second edition striking scorpion. Then you had the bunny, the
Oh
what
right,
you were
yeah.
affectionately referred to as the bunny striking scorpions because they had that sort of odd buck tooth kind of look through them.
But it's just
Now
that
you got the current one, so yeah,
it's
there's
just
been a
that, yeah,
few that
it's
have been
that whole
advanced.
kind of they're gonna do plastic aspect warriors. It's like, well, yes. When have they not? When has a major 40k release not been in plastic? Like, how many
It's
years are we looking back then? And of course they're going to do aspect warriors.
also the scope of these releases. I mean, you look at what they did with things like Necrons, even Dark Eldar back in the day.
Oh yeah.
They are quite capable of almost completely refreshing a range.
Well, this is it. It was that old that you were at the point where, like the Guardians, although like the Guardians aren't bad models,
No,
but
not at all.
they
I
are
think
old.
oh
The
really? And you look
weapons
at the sprue.
platforms,
Look
yeah,
at the sprue. I love that when you look at old sprues and compare them with the current ones. You compare a sprue, let's say Space Marine Scouts. Compare those sprue where you can almost fit your entire hand through the
yeah,
spaces on those frames. Versus, or Land Speed is a good one. Those have got an incredible amount of space on these sprues. Compared that
yeah.
to a Necromunda sprue that's come out now, or a Titanicus sprue where
Oh yeah,
it's virtually solid with pieces. You're like,
yeah,
it's a
definitely.
totally different technology, which it would be over 20 years. You would expect that to be the case. Is that true? I wonder if that's true. Anyway, there's been quite a bit of rumors rolling around, and they feel like old school style rumors on 40k and possibly some of the other things. There's been a few bits of Titanicus. Not, I suppose we've had our round with Heresy.
We did have a second. We had the one we talked about, and then the one recently about stratagems coming in, which was all taken from a current heresy book. It was like they bring stratagems into this, and it's like, dude, there've been stratagems in this game for a long time, just not in the way that you recognise them. And maybe you haven't read the campaign bits or whatever. But my God, there were stratagems back in. Was it Cities of Death where they were first used?
Yes.
Yeah, like there've been stratagems in 30k for a long time. Just to say, used slightly differently. Stratagems aren't a problem. The way you employ stratagems are potentially an issue, but the mechanic in itself, like the concept of in itself, is not a bad. AT use stratagems fairly well, to be fair. There are
Yes.
still issues with the odd one or two, but
Actually,
they don't.
to be fair, it's got better since the two traitor book, the two
Yeah,
Legio books have come around. It's just
yeah.
a lot these
There are
days just trying to
still.
find where they all are.
Well, they're on the Titan Tracker app on iOS for a very small fee.
Is that still available, or did
Yep.
they withdraw as a? That's
Nope.
interesting.
Nope. The Titan Tracker app is a independent app that allows data to be collected and shown inside it, and then you can basically choose to import data.
Okie dokie. I have it.
So
I'm now rapidly looking at it while we're speaking.
yeah, so you have and you can search by a name of stratagem, and or by legio, or by how many points the stratagem is, um, or by your allegiance as well. So it makes it very good. But yeah, I like the concept of stratagems in and of itself is not necessarily a bad idea. Yeah, how they're brought in, how they're utilised, and what they do. Uh, you know, don't get me wrong. If they did anything like that, it won't be perfect because Games Workshop don't get things perfect. No, well, no one does. But Games Workshop have a history of slightly undervaluing certain things and overvaluing certain things, and that will no doubt carry on. But as a
yes.
community, like when it comes to AT events, if I'm going to run my own, I'm going to have to go through and write an FAQ anyway, FAQ errata on certain things that I think are unclear or potential issues in the game. But nothing. I mean, the good thing about AT is nothing's way over the top. I think there are a lot of little things, not a lot. There are a decent amount of little things that could be adjusted. But then most games are like that. But
Yeah.
if we do go, I mean, I haven't seen, if we're losing the black books and we're getting these smaller books, then it becomes easier to revisit stuff anyway on a rolling scale. I see Blood Bowl's now getting a 6-month update to their rules. They've revised
Oh.
some of the
Oh, that was
team.
this FAQ, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they've revised some of the team levels in those. I can't remember what they call them in those. Rank. Is it rank? Yeah, rank 1, rank 2, something like that. Yeah, they revised a few of those based on feedback, and they saw a loophole in one of the rules that was intended for one team, but actually affected another as well. And they were like, "Okay, cool. We'll quick little bit of wordage change on that, and away we go." So, like, if we do get a heresy set up like that, we can hopefully expect those kind of similar aspects to join it. So,
Yeah.
a regular rules revision, that kind of thing, is not out of the realms of possibility, and that will be a
Okay.
good, healthy thing for the game as well.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I think it all seems quite positive actually with all of that.
Yeah,
All those developments, I think they can actually give us a lot of opportunities.
just hope we don't have to wait for the summer for it. But hey, you know, we'll
No,
see.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
It's
there's a few things. There's quite a few releases being queued up for the first part of the first part of the year with
yeah, I mean, but
40k codexes and stuff.
yeah, you're not wrong. But if you look at the releases over the last few weeks, so I'm going to sell all my Stormcast that I've got because I was listening to a podcast talk about the release schedule. It was a heresy one actually, and I think it was Edge of Empire, and I think it was Rob was suggesting that Heresy will become, as the third big game, will get a summer release, and I'm like, I'm not sure that's true because I'm 99% sure that this box was supposed to be out in this November timescale based on the White Dwarf articles and everything else. But he then was like, then you get Heresy 1 year, 40k the next year, Age of Sigmar the next year, 3-year cycle for game systems, which again I'm not necessarily sure fits with the way they handle things like Heresy, but I mean it could do whatever really. But I was sitting there thinking, okay, I collect Space Wolves and I will always get all Space Marines to add to my Space Wolves. I'm going to get this Heresy box when it comes out, and I'm always going to be looking at Heresy stuff. I play Blood Bowl, I play, I sort of play Necromunda, I play a Titanicus. I've got other game systems I want to play as well. On top of that, I don't need another Space Marine-esque release army. So my Stormcast going, with the exception of I will allow myself to buy dragons.
Okay, yes.
So
Are you getting the two big new ones?
No, not yet. That this is my thing. It's like I will get them and I will allow myself to get them. That's fine. They will be the only Stormcast I own will be a Dragon army, but I really don't need to buy it now when I've already spent money on Dungeon Bowl, money on what should we call it, the Lord of the Rings game, which is another one where I need to get some stuff painted and played. That Sisters, the Talons of the Emperor or the Custodies are getting done for 40k, and you're allowed Sisters. They're allowed to have their own HQs. That's an excuse for me to buy more Sisters and and
Multi-use
Talons
armies.
stuff,
That is always pretty
which
appealing,
I've already
isn't
got. Yeah, I've got my Knights that need to get done, and I still need to get armor goods for them. Like, you know what? Actually, those dragons can wait.
it?
And I'm sure I'll get them before I do half that other stuff. Don't get me wrong, because I'm a fool still, but I'm controlful. But the point was, like, look back on how much stuff has been released. I mean, I'll tell you one thing: those new Necromunda, the Slopper and the Scabber.
Oh, they're nice. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, talk about Necromunda's in this really awesome place where they're just like, oh yeah, how about the crook who sells you watches? You know, how
Yeah.
about the mobile chef? Like, things they can't do in other games. Absolutely fantastic. The Battle Force is coming out this week. I'm like, okay, I don't, I've got all the Space Marine stuff. That's good, cool. Don't need any of that. Don't need any of that. Don't need any of that. Fine. That Revenant Legion box. If I sell the 20 skeletons that are in there, the rest of that can be used in my Old World army. So that's good value. I'm sure it will be good value. It's like, really? Okay, so every week there's something there to go and buy. It's a real real struggle not to just go and jump on. I was just looking at those dragons again. They're amazing. Uh, but yeah, just it's constant. Even the terrain for Necromunda, the Underhive Market, like
Yeah.
even
Oh,
that
that
in a
I did pick up a set of that.
even in a
Yeah,
30k setting, like
that is so widely usable. They sold out of the Outcasts box, which I was kind of expecting. Well, not
no,
necessarily sell
apparently they're
out.
going to re-release them as smaller package models. So you might be able to buy
Ah,
two in a box or something
well,
like
I
that.
assumed they would re-release the box. I
No,
assume the box will come back. You don't think it will?
I saw something. I think Garrow had picked up from somewhere. Saw a reply that said they were going to be available again, but maybe not necessarily in that manner.
Interesting. I assumed because it's a plastic set that it would come round again
Yeah, it depends how the
because they.
sprues are, doesn't it? I
Yeah, of
suppose.
course. Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? I haven't looked into it, to be fair. Uh, but yeah, so yeah, there's some cool stuff on there as well. Titanicus mini knights, like it's just constant, isn't it? Like, I get relieved when it's like, brilliant. There's a whole
I've got
weekend of
into that.
releases where I have no interest.
Several of my
Yeah,
friends are doing the same, where they have that moment of, oh, thank goodness, yeah, this isn't going to hurt me.
yeah.
There is that is a downside, I think, that it's got to that point to
Well, I
some
think,
degree. I mean, I like being excited for releases very much so, as we all do.
yeah.
But that said, the fatigue is a thing.
I
Where
wonder
if you're
if
playing multiple games,
I wonder what new players into the Games Workshop um, kind of sphere feel, because back when you and I started, I mean, when did you start playing? Oh, I need to get that Croxigore for Blood Bowl
war
as well.
games in general.
Yeah,
Oh, goodness me. I'm going to say early 90s.
right. Yeah, so I
I was
I
12.
first 92 was when I started to visit
Yeah, it would
Games
have been a
Workshops
similar
and
thing.
stuff
I
like
picked
that.
up a box at Epic early days, and then and then picked up a Codex, thinking it was for the same thing, and it wasn't. And suddenly there
Yeah.
was 40k, and then second edition box set. Oh, and then Epic before that, and on you go. So
Oh,
yeah,
Red
back it was a
Harvest.
while.
That was
Yeah.
another one I avoided. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
back
that's a good point.
then,
I forgot
like,
about
you got a release a month or whatever,
that. Yeah,
and like, if you were an adult, potentially you could keep up, like, whether
yeah.
that was sensible or not. And so I think we've grown up, like, with this ability. Back then, even with when Epic was out, you had what, three or four games you could play, like, really, like,
Mm.
it was a bit like that, maybe 4 or 5. And the releases for each of those were so slow that you could, if you wanted to, go and buy everything. And of course, you weren't interested in every 40k army, and you weren't interested in every Warhammer army. But now there's so much coming out. There's so many good games, but we've grown up on this whole thing where we can play everything. Back in the day, I knew I knew the lore for almost everything within,
Yeah.
within reason. Obviously, I'm
I
not
know.
saying I was a lore master, but now, like, I mean, Age of Sigmar, I don't really bother. I keep the
I
very
used to
highest.
buy I used to buy codexes and read
Yeah,
them almost cover to cover, read the lore section cover to cover, because I wanted and felt almost I had to know, very
yeah,
much wanted to know all the lore.
and there
That's
were only 3 or
inconceivable.
4 a year, which so it
Yeah,
was fine. Um,
but that's inconceivable with the volume of stuff now.
yeah,
I just couldn't do
definitely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, we look across the range of games now, and they have to in the modern climate. They have to. I've said it before on the show. If you only play Lord of the Rings, you need enough releases in that Lord of the Rings schedule to keep you
it.
playing the game, to keep you coming back. They've got to do that for every game they do, so it makes sense. Um, there's the big thing of you don't have to keep up, you just have to, and this is why I'm just looking. I've got back to the releases of the Stormcast. The new Stormcast are just amazing. They are so good. um, but it's to the point where even like, because in the Dominion box you get the easy fit ones, so you
Yeah.
don't necessarily get all the options, so you end up having to buy stuff again or converting. um, like, yeah, I could have had loads of stuff when that release came out. I managed to avoid that one, thankfully. Like, because it just piles up and doesn't do you any good. And it's money, and it's money that I'm going to need going into next year. I need to wean myself off a little bit. And I'm not. I don't go OTT, but I certainly buying more than I probably should. Even
Don't we
just
all?
from a general, exactly, from a general kind of view of it. I'm not getting himself in problems or anything doing it, but um,
I did
I
see
need
some
a good
advice.
5 months off work.
I did hear some advice from people saying, or I've heard it from a couple of people of try, don't necessarily buy it on a
Yeah,
day of release,
yeah.
and
Wait for
see if
3 months.
you're, yeah, exactly. Well, that can, let's not go crazy, but you can. Just taking out that initial, oh my god, I want to have this.
Yeah, yeah.
There is that slight pressure of buy it now before it's gone, which
That
for
there is a
most
little bit of that
cases
now,
doesn't
unfortunately,
really exist. Yeah,
and
I think that's, and I've seen
and
other
people
people
think
talking about
that's people think that's intentional. I don't think it is. Um,
that. I think there's a bit of it in for certain things. There is
I
that, but I
don't.
don't think that's a general strategy move. I don't think
No, Games
that's the
Workshop
case.
want to sell more than they
Yeah,
can.
exactly.
So yeah, it's but yeah, there is that thing, and I think we said last show, the independents don't help on that because they give you an extra 5% off in that first week. So you're
Yes.
thinking, well, I know I'm going to buy it, so I might as well buy it now and save money. Um, and all that. I think one thing to do is to sit down and identify, like, okay, what am I doing here? And this is what I'm kind of having to do. Like Age of Sigmar, I don't play a huge amount as much now as I used to. I won't be going to as many events. I do want an army for it. I do enjoy it. Okay, I've got my Mega Gargants. Cool. I've got some more Gargants to buy for that, but they can build up over time. That's fine. I've got my demons which can cross over. Cool. I've got the cruel boys which I want to do because they're fantastic, and I've got some ogres. Actually, should I sell my ogres?
Mm.
Because then the temptation's not there. I don't know yet. I think I might keep them because I really like them. But it's going to be a while before I get around to doing anything with that, unless I get a sudden urge or anything like that. But they do fit in then potentially with the cruel boys and with the mega gargants. So cool. The Age of Sigmar sphere is okay because I'm going to sell my Stormcast. Brilliant. Okay, 40k. I'm basically down to Space Marines, Space Wolves, and I've got Knights which need to get finished. I've got a few painted. They're for 30k as well, so that's cool. That's fine. I am signed up for the magazine. I'm Imperium because
Oh,
I'm like,
really?
yeah, because I'm like, you know what? Actually, I don't mind adding because there's some really good value stuff in there. Some of the stuff I will just sell on, like, and get that week's money back. But all the paints I pretty much use, like the brushes, cool, crack on. Uh, and I do want more stuff for the Space Wolves at some point. And you know what? Actually, yeah, why don't I put some sisters with them for the odd game? That's kind of fine. I don't mind that. That kind of thing is cool.
Mm.
But that's my 40k sorted, right? And I'm having to sit there and think I've got this real massive urge still to do a Tyranid army. right? And I know when they released new Tyranids, because Tyranids haven't had new models since 2014, I think, for Tyranids.
They probably had the odd one or two.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean the
pretty
odd
much.
one or
Yeah,
two.
you're
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
literally
but
the odd one or two.
they're the core plastics are
It's an
some of
old.
those are quite old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Some of them show it.
they don't look it. Well, I
No,
don't know.
some of them don't. A couple do. Um, but I know that's a silly one in my head, but it won't go away. It's a bit. It's a yeah. So I can control that.
I
Um,
enjoy how you scratch part of that itch by having some tyrants in your demon army.
well, yeah. I mean, that was literally just trying to find a decent thing to have in there, and they work really well. I don't think it actually helped that itch. I think it may have. I
Made it
think it may
worse.
have helped me kind of go, oh yeah, Tyranids, baby, they're super cool. Um, but then that would become a God. They mix so well with Gene Stealer Colts. Why wouldn't you?
Well, yeah,
So it's partly is what it is, but yeah, it's that trying to and still I'm talking about having loads of different stuff. That's 4 game systems. That's before AI, Blood Bowl, all those different things that are out there. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've probably gone over this conversation 2 or 3 times on this podcast, but whatever. That's rambling on. It could be worse. But yeah, it's then getting on with the hobbying so that you feel like you're getting through it
yeah,
and trying to
yeah.
focus on that.
Well, I suppose we'll see what the coming days and weeks are holding
Yeah,
for all this
well,
stuff.
we'll see if we get another legendary exemplary battle. Sorry,
Yeah,
that could be because we've had 3. You never know, we might get another one of them. See what comes up on Legion Dispatch. We're heading towards Christmas. There's usually a reveal of some kind around Christmas, 1 or 2. So see if they do anything for New Year's Day, which they've
yeah,
done.
because there's often been a New Year's open day, which I don't think there is this time. But
No, they did preview last year, New Year's Day. They did a little preview.
yeah, I could see that happening again.
Yeah, yeah. It's just sitting on that bated breath, waiting to see what exciting stuff comes. But it's all good.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I suppose we probably should I did this with the Titanicus podcast. I want to touch on it. I don't want to get too deep onto it, but the whole
intrigued.
issue around right wing um,
Oh yeah,
clothing at events. I did just because Howard and I discussed this at a table. Apparently, they are specific right wing iconography that was on his coat. But either way, whatever, it's almost irrelevant. Um, I we talked about it while we were at Salute, didn't we? About
we did.
the
I
need
enjoyed that
for
chat actually. It was
events
good.
to have to have some responsibility and to lay that out. And then Games Workshop came out and said, if you come to any of our events um, displaying this kind of stuff, that's not cool. And if you're going to if you're going to follow through with that in the way you act and talk, then that's definitely not cool. And frankly, we don't want you here if you're not being inclusive. And I echo that. Protecting an event, the inclusivity of an event means that if someone is contradicting that, you have to remove them. That's the only way that works. And people will argue, oh, you're supposed to be inclusive. Well, you have to be, you have to be policing that. At my events, I do think there's an element of you have to nothing's black and white in these things generally,
No.
but if someone came to
And
my
having the right to reply, I thought there was one of our friends was part of that conversation, and he was saying there's a right to
yeah
reply. However, having a
in
clear, unequivocal stance, great
yeah
move. I thought that post they did was written extremely well.
yeah
I thought they did a really good job with that, and it just made it super clear. And I
and the
thought also going further to state how they perceived, particularly given that there's been, I think it would be a reasonable observation to say that they are broadening the way their properties, and I mean that as 40k, heresy, everything,
Yep.
is being presented, so that you can go as grim and dark as you like, but you can also have a presented side of it, which is perhaps a little bit more entertaining. Let's
Yep.
go down that route.
Lighter.
Lighter, yeah, that's a good way of going that way. That has a tendency to paint certain factions as good guys or similar, and I think to come out in such an unequivocal, clear way and say there are no good guys. This is the whole basis of this is that everything is bad and to the power 10, and that's kind of the point, and it's a satire. I thought was great. It was quite a bold move for them to do that.
Yeah,
good on them.
And it's unequivocally countering Death of the Author, which is basically that essentially once an author's dead, like you can apply whatever you want to their text because they're not there to say what is and what isn't happening. It's not quite that, but that's a very simplistic view of looking at it. Like, no, Games Workshop have come out and told you this is satire. Like, it might be bad satire, it might be good satire, it might have issues within that, but the intent is that this is satire. If you don't read it as such, then, well, you can go back to that and say, well, it's just bad. That's fine, but it is satire. The Imperium, and essentially we're highlighting the Imperium, although Tau sometimes come into this because sometimes people see Tau as the good guy. Those two particularly, like, they're not aspiration. Like even the very well off people in there. I think I saw someone actually talking about this somewhere else on Twitter. Maybe it was Mike Brooks, might have been someone else. And it was like, yeah, the Imperium would be like, they're desperately trying to save these people. Space Marines are definitely trying to save these people. But if they see one mark of mutation on them, they'd probably then just kill them. Like, they're not doing it because they're, big heroes. They're doing it because they're told to do it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and at my events, if you come and you're wearing something like that, like there might be depending on what it is, I say every situation is independent and has to be dealt with that way. But I might have to ask people to, to cover up, to leave, to change behaviour. It's tricky.
I don't think there should be any fear of doing that. I think that's and the idea of upsetting people or otherwise. Well, unfortunately, you've made it clear what you're
exactly.
And you think as long as you deal with that in an adult way and you give them a right to reply and similar, well, that's up to them. You've made your position quite clear before the event. There you go.
Yeah, and there are some really grey areas for some people about, people wearing T-shirts that seem to celebrate people who aren't good and all those kind of things, and arguments are brought up like that. And it's like, there are certain imagery and everything else like that. It's just that it's unequivocal. Everyone knows it's not cool.
Yeah,
right. It's really plain.
It's likely to offend. So why would you go out of your way to do that?
Yeah.
At that event specifically, there are other forums if you want to get into that. This is not it.
No, if you come to play toy soldiers, you don't need to be making political statements.
You come to play a game. You've not come to have a philosophical discussion. There's other forums for that.
Indeed. So I think we probably should leave that there before I end up missaying something.
This is a topic in and of itself.
Yeah, and it's it's tough.
I am woefully underprepared for this.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but I don't think even this podcast. I don't think I'm clued up enough on these to have that kind of discussion anyway.
Absolutely.
I know enough to get myself in a lot of trouble. Right. Unfortunately, that is the nature of these kind of things where you think, I think I know a little bit, and actually what you're saying is completely counter through your own ignorance, not through any maliciousness. So, yeah. Hey, but no, it was good. Yeah, the article from GW was good. There's no discussion of that. What it has done is highlighted, it is a minority, but they're still there. So, that's almost irrelevant. It has highlighted a lot of people who I was like, do I preemptively block these people on Twitter? I saw some replies, well, you're driving us out of the hobby. And it's like, well, when you say us and you're identifying with someone who was, fascist in if you're identifying with the Nazis, then and you're saying yes, that's us, then well, what can you do? But I also believe I'm a strong believer in there's a way back. There should be a way back for people.
Absolutely.
There should still be consequences, but they should be able to work through something if they choose to.
Yes.
But yeah, all good. I think that's about it, really. I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, it's a fairly light one this time, isn't it? With it in terms of news and sort of general updates. But
we still managed to talk for an hour.
Always good to chat. Yeah, well, of course we can. Frankly, I'm amazed we didn't go for 10.
Indeed. Well, yeah, I think part of it is like knowing we've got so much time because we've recorded the Primarch section already. I think it's dangerous. We haven't got that buzzer on us to try and keep us going. So episode 150 was going to decide who the best Primarch was. However, that will be done on next episode. It was a foolish plan because we
can't get all of the things in.
No. So episode 151. We will definitively have the greatest Primarch announced.
I think it's officially referred to as the bestest.
The bestest, indeed. And that'll be, God blimey, that'll be 2022. That'll be January's episode. My word.
When did that slip in?
Indeed.
Wow, okay.
And we'll be looking towards another great year in Heresy.
Potentially a very great year.
Potentially the best in a long time.
No, indeed. Yeah.
I think there is a buzz. There is, as you said, and I was listening to someone else talk. Actually, it was a lot of people starting new projects and things like that. There seems to be this air of anticipation.
Yeah.
And once we do get something concrete, I think that might get a new people buzz as well.
Agreed.
Which I don't think is necessarily fully there yet. There's a few people who are waiting to see what happens. But yeah, Toy Soldier Man, it's going to be good.
Absolutely. Can't wait, frankly. Can't wait.
Awesome stuff. All right, so we'll take a break and we'll come back with our Primarch chat. Right, so the next thing we need to judge all these Primarchs on is the rules.
It's a big one. It's an important one.
Ish.
It's the one I know least about.
We can caveat that. Like, I haven't played against a huge amount of Primarchs in a long time, to be honest. It was a vogue for a while, and there are certainly, people who lean more towards it than others.
Everyone
I've played
wants to,
a few
surely.
of these.
Everyone wants to.
No, some people still don't like playing with named characters. Some people don't like seeing a Primarch even at 3,000 points because why are they with such a small force?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I can see that. I just think, I would imagine everyone wants. Well, you're right. Not every game by any stretch, but I would have thought it's kind of cool to see that in a game.
I think also, they're not always. They sometimes force your army a certain way. It's up to a sixth of your points in one model, and then by nature of the fact you then want to protect them, and if they're one of the many combat ones, you want to get them into combat, and all of a sudden your 400 odd point Primarch needs a Spartan and a unit of Terminators, and all of a sudden you spent best part of 1,000 points or more than 1,000 points. You spent a third of your army at least on making sure your Primarch can do his thing. So it can be quite a demand. And that actually features into my rules judgments a little bit. But they will be, people will disagree with this, and that's fine because, again, as we identified last episode, you're all wrong. This is definitive. I'm just going to hammer down on that.
Still makes me queasy. Still makes me feel uncomfortable, even just hearing it.
Absolutely, and even more bearing in mind that last week's list is already wrong. So
I'm looking at
But
my
it's
rules list here, and I'm actually making changes as we speak.
well, I was going to do that, but that's a lot of effort. So we shall start at the bottom. Let me get out. I was marking these, so it's easier to do later on. So I will start with my number 18 first, and that is Mr. Angron.
Really? Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
he unfortunately has the worst save, and that's
Okay.
quite a big thing. So yeah, he can steamroller stuff, and he can build up lots of attacks, and you know, but as soon as he's caught out in the open, he's stuffed. Um,
Mm.
so he's got 3 up armor save. Is That's kind of the big thing. So you're looking at uh, years ago on this show, I had my good friend Alex on, and he was talking about how he's taken Angron down with a Fury of the Legion before,
Wow.
because
In a
sixes wound
single
him.
single round.
Well, not a single round. He had been slightly hurt, but
Okay.
bolt
Yeah.
shots
Okay. Fair enough.
can do it. He's got a 3 up armor save.
Yeah.
So, like,
Also, with
what?
power weapons suddenly being relevant at that point, that's just regular power weapons.
Yeah, I mean,
Power
don't get me
swords,
wrong.
is
Yeah, I mean, power weapons, like in combat, you've got to get through. He starts at 6 attacks um, plus all his extra rules. I mean, hatred as well as extra attacks. He can challenge 1,000,000 people. It's great. He's got furious charge. Feel no pain, to be fair. Uh,
Do you find it curious that he's at, just thematically, I find it curious that he's at 3+. I suppose it's a disregard for armor, and Sanguinius
No,
is 2.
it's more his his well, maybe it is. It's his state. He's always in the
Yeah,
fight as
exactly.
much as anything
It's
else as
his
well. Yeah.
disregard for personal protection. Yeah, that's the only thing. I can see that being a part of it. Yeah.
So his armor is modified from gladiatorial armor, in which he fought as a slave. So it's just less cover, I suppose. But it's a 3 up, 4 up. But the invulnerable doesn't matter as much because the armor's better. Like, you can afford to just be like, okay, I'll fire heavy bolters at him. Like, if you've got enough heavy bolters, obviously you've got to catch him out. Like, you've got to catch him out in the middle, but that can be done. Yeah, he's saying he's +1 strength. He's strength 7 base. He's weapon skill 9, which is really cool. Strength 7 base, initiative 7, and he's strength 8 in combat. So at least, and with armor bane as well. So he's not getting stuck on stuff. But if you concentrate fire on the Terminators and then bring use your AP2 weapons to take the Terminators down that he's usually surrounded by, then you can just it's one of the few times where you're like, actually, it is probably worth putting these 20 bolt gun shots into him, because there's a chance of doing a couple of wounds. 20 bolt gun shots, you hit him with 2/3 of them, so say 14. You're wounding with 2. Only takes a little bit of luck to wound with 3 or 4. Like, it's not huge out of the ordinary, and then you've got a 3-up save. Like, two failed saves can go through from bolt guns. Like, that's huge on a Primarch at 400 points. I mean, he's not as expensive as the rest. He's cool. I really like him, but it's that armor save and
the idea of being a cheaper Primarch is an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rules reflect like that. As I say, the points reflect the rules to a point. I mean, the other thing is as well, because he's so destructive. Something we talked about with other units, like the chances of him being locked in combat are much smaller. So with any unit like this, 7th edition, Age of Darkness 1st edition really rewards combat units to be able to kill enough to leave 1 or 2 alive to be able to kill them in the enemy turn, so you can't get shot, and then you can charge the next thing. But he's, a lot of the times he's going with like red butchers as well, who make mincemeat of stuff. And I will say one thing for the whole Primarch discussion. I place much less emphasis on how well they fight other Primarchs. Because most of the time, I don't want my Primarch fighting another Primarch. It's cool. Like, people like to see it. It's cool fights, but they tend not to be cool fights in game. They also tend to be decided by the unit that's surrounding the Primarch. How many have died before they get there, and they could be just rolling dice at each other. You turn into Arnold Rimmer. You're like, well, I rolled 3 3s, and then he rolled 2 4s, and then
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it's hard to have a conversation with them on their own. It just feels not unrealistic, is a funny phrase, but it doesn't feel right to be having that conversation about them in isolation. It's like you say, straight away, it's like, well, what Terminators are they going with? What Legion squad are they going with? That sort of stuff. You think so how do they interact that way?
Yeah. At the end of the day, I say most combat-based Primarchs have pushed slightly lower down for me. There are some that are higher up because their output is great, or they have either the ability to survive better to get there, or what have you. There's things to make that happen. But yeah, Angron for me at the bottom. Who have you put there?
You're not. I don't know what your feelings are on this. Ferrus.
Okay, cool.
I just find him uninspiring, and it's kind of how I've ranked these a bit. It's a bit sort of how much for me, because my experience of playing with him is non-existent. Really, I've seen them in game, and I've been part of games where they've taken place. And actually, I say that I played against Angron, funnily enough, and exactly that. I saw him. He essentially ran and hid because he was taking damage from a distance from plasma cannon. Jet bikes, and there was a and Valdor was in the ether about to come down, and he was like, I could lose Angron pretty early here as the opponent, and so he wisely kind of played him quite cagily.
He's also got 5 wounds, Angron.
Exactly, so it was all a bit for that. I can see your point there, but to me, I've done this ranking largely on how inspiring I think the rules are and how closely I think they represent a very good representation of what those Primarchs are to me. And Ferrus, there was just not enough there. And I'd say this is true probably the bottom 4 or 5. Yeah, probably the bottom 5. I would say they all have just this. There's nothing that really captures my attention in the way that the others do.
I sort of agree with that. So for me, Ferrus, he's cool. He's strength 7, toughness 7. That's not bad. That's a good start. He's got 4 attacks. There is a way to help with that. He's got, so you get to Sire of the Iron Hands, his main rules. He's got Relentless and Smash. Yeah, cool. Shooting attacks.
It feels tame, doesn't it? Even the way you're describing them, you're like, there's nothing that really stand out there.
Shooting attacks at him suffer the -1 penalty to strength, like the rest of the Legion. That's cool. That's always useful. Bear with me.
He's not.
Sorry, Karen?
He's quite expensive.
Yeah, he's 455 points. So you're wondering where you get that from here. So all Iron Hands are getting Feel No Pain 6+, which is not bad. What was Angron's? I can never remember what Angron does. He gives them all.
Actually, that's a pretty cool rule.
It is a cool rule. Oh yeah, so Angron gives all World Eaters within 12 inches of him Fearless, which means you're bunching together quite a lot. I mean, it's a foot each side, but still. The problem is you then get to master the mechanisms. So he's a battlesmith with a repair roll of 3+. Okay.
Super Tuckerine.
Yeah. And then all vehicles with at least 1 armor value of 13 will gain it will not die, which is nice. It's useful. Where we got here? He's got 2 up armor and 3 up invulnerable. That's good. With a Nuncio Vox service arm, blah blah blah. Can fire 2 weapons, and he's got Forge Breaker, which does allow strike down. Cool. So the problem is, to make the most of him, you've got to take a lot of heavy armor. All right, and then he can repair it, but he can only repair like you're not going to run him in the middle of 3 of these. You're not going to hold him back. Like he could be able to repair his own one he's in, fine. But then you're paying 455 points for this guy, and then if you're talking armor value 13 vehicles, you want 2 or 3 in an army, which is not that unusual. But all of a sudden you've got a very compact army. If you don't want to do that, then this whole rule, like one of his 4 rules, isn't doing it a lot. He does do, like Sire of the Iron Hands is quite good. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't inspire. You're right, and he doesn't do a huge amount for your army, and he's only got 4 attacks. I'm trying to remember what Strike Down rule does. That's the one where you can...
Cool character, but as you said, just none of it pushes it into that. Oh, that's cool. there's nothing that's super cool about it in a way. There's nothing it's that word inspiring. That's the bit that he's lacking with me. Like I say, the bottom four, and I to some degree, I feel that with Angron.
Yeah, I mean
I'm
Angron,
gonna
I
jump in
find him
because we've discussed him. I'm gonna jump in. He's my 17.
cool.
I put him
Yeah.
down there as well.
Okay, cool. So Ferris is my 16. Let me just double check what Strike Down does because I've never used it. He says trying to find it in his book. Strike Down. Here's. I want to get it right. Any non-vehicle model that suffers one or more unsaved wounds moves as if it's in difficult terrain until the end of its next turn. Wow.
Which, if you're in combat,
I mean, some things can hit and run, but they tend to be stuff that can move through cover. So,
it's niche, isn't it?
Forge Breaker is concussive. It is better when it's in his hands than strength times 2, AP 1, so he is destroying vehicles. But he's got 4 attacks. So this is the other problem. Like when we get to other Primarchs who have multiple weapon options, like I remember playing my Mechanicum and seeing people with things, with Primarchs like him and going, right, 20 tech thralls, you've got 4 attacks to get through them all, dude. Oh yeah, he's got his extra attack from his servo arm. Great.
5.
Cool. Yeah.
Which are hitting on 3s.
Yeah, because you can't hit on 2s.
Nope.
So
still only hitting on 3s. Best.
Yeah. So you're killing 3 dudes, and you're like, again, there's a unit around him. But if you can kill enough of the unit around him, he just doesn't do anything. To be fair, most of the times I fought against him 2 or 3 times, all with Mechanicum, and it was back in the day where you could just go, oh, I can haywire that to death with my Myrmidon Secutors. I can haywire your Spartan to death, and then he gets out, and then I fire 4 grav cannons from my Myrmidon Destructors, wounding on 2s, no armor save. Oh, your unit appears to be disappearing. I find him lackluster. So that was my 16. Let me just double check. Yeah, Ferris was my 16.
So I've done my 18 and 17. Who's your
17 was
Angron.
Let's write him in there. My 17 was Kurz.
Okay.
So Kurz,
we are much more aligned on this than we are on model.
Yeah, I think they do stand out. So, I mean, some people will have him as the worst, and I won't do that because those people are the kind of people like, oh my god, I charged him into this Primarch and he died. Yeah, that will happen. That's not how he works. You've got to play him like he's Kurz. You've got to move him around. So I was going to push him higher for a while because he does. You may elect to have night fighting in the first turn, which is cool. All Night Lords gain fear, which is useful. Units that have fear, there's a -1 penalty on them, which is cool because when it works, it can really work. Fear.
It is easy to forget quite the significance of morale in Age of Darkness games as well.
Yeah, because some games you just don't fail.
No.
Like, particularly when you're up against other legios where they can, we share our leadership. We're all leadership 10 all the time. But when you fail it, like Dwarves in Warhammer, sometimes when you fail it really hurts. And then he can, his fear tests are a -3.
That's fairly potent.
But that's that one
still fear
thing again.
It's tricksy, isn't it?
And the chances are you're putting a Primarch into a unit. Like, you should be putting him into a unit that you're not overly scared of, because if you're charging him into 10 Terminators by himself, then that's going to be pain. But it's nice to help keep wounds off of him. But it's not as amazing as kind of it sounds. He does get 2 up armor save, 4 up invulnerable, hit and run, which is really good. And you should be using Hammer of Wrath when he charges, D3. But so one of the problems he has is he can't handle Dreadnoughts, and he can't handle other Primarchs that much. So you have to be making use of that hit and run. But I've seen games. I saw a game where someone charged him into Horus, and then was like, "Oh no, that was a bad thing." and then spent the game running away from Horus, and his area of play got smaller and smaller because the other player played it well and kind of pushed him into a corner. Yeah,
He's jump infantry.
he is jump infantry, so he has got some manoeuvrability.
He's got
but
considerable manoeuvrability.
But if you, the problem is a competent opponent will make it difficult. And it's an important thing again.
I feel he's difficult. That's he's
difficult.
Quite a complex one.
He is, and he has limitations. How many points is he? He's 435. So he's not terrible, but and he does have stealth as a base rule, so it can be harder. But the problem is if he goes into an area of the board and gets stuck there and there are ways like you can fail your hit and run, right? That kind of thing, but that could really hurt you. I mean, he's got a lot of limitations. Like, because I sit there and go, well, he'll 5 attacks and he's got melee shred, specialist weapon, murderous strike paired. He's got an extra attack for mercy and forgiveness in combat. Brilliant. He's going to shred troops. Everything shreds troops. This is Age of Darkness.
Yeah.
So the amount of times people are like, this will be my unit killer. It's like everything should be your 3-up armor unit killer. Really?
Yeah, I think. Yes, that's true, but it does play to his. It's quite thematic of what he is, and I think all the shrouded aspects of him. And what are the rules? How does he deploy? Is there some sneaky
normal? I think no, normal.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, he's got the jetpack. He counts as he can jump infantry. He can deep strike, which is a way of playing it because seeing deep striking armies. But then we'll get onto this later. There's a Primarch later on who maybe other people will put a lot higher, but the fact that a lot of people deep strike him, I think it creates pressure, but it causes problems, and you can always fail the roll as well for reserves. So you could be getting 2 or 3 turns from your 400 odd point Primarch unit, and a clever opponent again can play around knowing that you're going to deep strike, and therefore you are limited in your options for deployment and movement. So yeah,
he's interestingly Kurz is down there for me as well. He was -16.
Cool, groovy. We must be accurate if we're both pulling out the same numbers
at the similar sort of areas. Yeah.
Okay, I looked at that and I was like, no way is he 15 and I'm not. I was looking at the wrong column. That's all good. I have gone for the Phoenician himself, Mr. Fulgrim.
What, for 15?
For 15.
Ha! Same.
Oh, have you? Okay.
This is crazy. This is like we've aligned this. But
I think again, and again, like we said with the models, none of these are terrible. Like Angron, who's my bottom, still has use and you can still play him, but you kind of have to do one thing, and he can, people have played him very well, I'm sure, but for me it's like the unsubtle nature of him. So Fulgrim, initiative 8 is nice. We've got to give him that. 380
weapon
points.
Skill 8's pretty good. He's cheap.
Yep, he is cheap. He's quick. Here we go. He must always accept and issue challenges in combat, so long as a potential opponent in the challenge has a weapon skill 5 or higher. That can hurt you. That sometimes you can be pulled slightly not where you want to be, which some people don't. Again, that's
it's the must always accept. That's
exactly
the tricky bit. It's the must always accept issue. Fair enough. It must always accept. It's kind of thematic, but
you can charge Fulgrim's unit with 2 units, and go, oh, I am me and my 3 friends in power armor. I'm going to challenge you, and you've limited what he can do to you. Where the Terminators are on the other side ripping you apart. That kind of thing can be a real problem if you're not up to it. So okay, +2 combat res. It's cool for the whole army. It's it's cool.
Kind of Emperor's Children-y, but it just feels minor. This is again why he's lower down for me, because that it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it's good, but it's not terribly exciting.
No, I find those +2 combat res can sometimes be much more of a defensive thing because I'm trying to line up combats where I'm going to win anyway. What they can help, those things, is they can help your basic units where you're not doing a lot to each other, like Legion on, tactical squad on tactical squad fight. They can make a big difference there. And re-roll reserve rolls, successful or unsuccessful, which is quite a good rule, to be fair. Not very often that you don't want to bring something on, but it does happen every now and then. He's got 3 up saving, 3 up invulnerable in combat, which isn't bad. So he's what, a 2 up. He's a 2 up, 5 up again. That's another thing.
5 up's not great in shooting.
He's a 2 up, 5 up,
and out on the field.
3 up in combat. Again, unless you're fighting, like if you're fighting basic troops, that's almost irrelevance. For your Terminators and your Primarchs, it does help. And when he's in a challenge, he gains a number of additional attacks equal to the amount which his initiative score is greater than that of his opponent.
I like that. I do like that.
It is good. And that does mean...
Given he's 5 attacks already.
Yeah. The only problem is people don't have to accept the challenge. So if you're going into a unit, they can just go, yeah, I won't accept that. And then you stay at 5 attacks.
Again, it's the interaction with the other player, and it's the amount that the other player can do to kind of diminish.
Indeed,
his role.
But it's a cool rule. It is a cool rule.
I like it. But it feels like it could go further, and maybe that's because he's an early Primarch. But he gets to choose his warlord trait from strategic. To be fair, I haven't got the FAQs out. I can't remember all the little changes that might be in. I know some like Lorgar got shifted around a bit. I'm aware of that one. So yeah, choosing your warlord trait. But he doesn't have his own super cool one. So, cool. 2 up, 5 up. He's got a melee rending. So at least he's rending. So he's strength 6 with rending. So at least he can get himself out. This is where, again, we talk about Kurz failing. Kurz can run away at least. But he can. I think the 4 we've talked about so far are all in a broad group, aren't they?
The
5th one for my company.
He doesn't, and again, so all these 4, like Kurz for me could have gone up because he does a bit more for your army, a smidge more for your army, but Ferris does something for your one build of your army. Angron does very little for your army, really. Fulgrim doesn't do a huge amount for your army, so but that's why he's cheap. But yeah, Fulgrim, he's down there. Number 14?
Mortarion.
Okie dokie.
I can see where he's coming from, and I like toughness 7 wounds, all the resilience that you'd expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I just find it's that sort of slightly one-trick thing. There's not the right variety, and I think it's part of the guys who were in that first book, which is ironic given where I placed others. But I just found, again, not entirely inspiring. I don't really know what he's about in some ways. He's okay, but I just found, again, it's a similar thing. But I put him comfortably. To me, this is the jump up into the next bracket, into the mid-table for me. I feel that the ones we talked about are down there, and then the next 4 or 5 could all be in the mid-table, and then the rest, I think, are
there's a few things that pushed him up for me. Not too far. I'm going to say now he's number 11 for me.
Okay.
And they are the fact that he unlocks stuff for your army. So your army becomes stubborn, which is pretty good if they're not already fearless. And then you've got poisoned on frag grenades, frag missiles, havoc launchers, which is nice, and that's for free. So that's quite cool. Suddenly, frag grenades are suddenly that little bit better. That kind of sometimes worth doing. We'll get on.
I suppose
to that
it does give you an option, isn't it? It's something you wouldn't probably do.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
He rerolls failed toughness test and it will not die rolls. It will not die rolls is pretty good. He passes dangerous terrain. Cool. Any weapon which would auto wound, so he's basically immune to poison and flesh bane. No, not flesh bane. What's the other one? What's the rule that my mind's gone blank. It's not poison. It's the rad, not the rad one.
Radphage?
No, not radphage. Phosphex. Phosphex is the one. That's a set roll.
Okay.
So they only affect him on a 6. And that and
Okay,
these
that's
rules.
quite significant.
So sometimes these rules don't matter because you're in a unit, or matter less because you're in a unit, and only until the unit's gone does it become a relevance. For Matarian, that's different. He also has deny the witch rolls on a 4+, which is a nice little touch, nothing amazing. 2 up, 4 up, invulnerable, great. Silence is cool, it's unwieldy, but he's a tough old bugger, and he can do the sweep attack if he is surrounded. And he's strength 8 with that as well.
I think I might have
strength
put him
7,
a little that utility that we're describing here. I think I might have put him down a little low because I think that utility is why I think your ranking perhaps makes more sense.
He's got a few more bits on him, and the preternatural resilience is important because of Shadow the Reaper, and this is sort of why he's where he is, not higher for me. So fear test against him at -1, cool. So basically in the shooting phase, instead of running or moving, or shooting, sorry, you can redeploy him anywhere within 10 inches of his starting position as long as there's space for him, and not within 3 of a model. So one thing annoys me about Death Guard is how quick they move, because they ignore terrain, and then this guy teleports, right? Which is not how I think of Death Guard. But the same happens in 40k. You end up with the slow-moving army being one of the quicker armies. It's annoying, but hey. And he can do that out of a unit as well, so there's no risk involved in that. I think it's a leadership test to do it. Yeah. And then he may assault in that turn as well. So
that is pretty brutal, actually.
Seen turn 1 assaults going out, and then you've got, it's a positive and a negative, and that's why he's an 11 for me. He can be across the board tying stuff up and being a real nuisance. But if you get it slightly wrong, he's across the board and he's by himself.
See, he's 2 + 4 +. No, actually, that's good. He's actually he's one of the rarer ones where he could be a threat, sort of out
by himself.
Yeah, you're still going to want to run him with a unit, most likely.
Well, you need the ablative wounds to get there.
Yeah, he can stand on his own a little bit more than a lot of the others can.
I think he is good out by himself. I mean, he's got 5 attacks. So you don't have to do your sweep attack. It's got instant death on his weapon as well. So
it's relatively rare, isn't it?
It is relatively rare. Sorry. So you can go out and pick a big target. Like if you're playing Mechanicum, something like that, you can go out and just go, that Castellax unit's going to die, right? And I'll kill 3 of them at least. Fine. Cool, I will do that, and that's worth the risk for me. Then I've just got to weather the attacks back, and you can do that. I've seen people do that with him out on a flank, and because he can do Shadow the Reaper all the time, he can move. But
is he a
if you get it wrong
against demons?
Sorry,
is he a reasonable take against demons?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of the not huge stuff, but instant death, even on the big stuff, does D3 wounds. He's strength 7, so he's good against the medium stuff from turn 1. But you do, as I say, you do run the risk of having him out there then, that you can either get swamped or you can do that thing where you do kill the enemy breaks, and then you're facing a lot of shooting. And once he's there, he's also got phosphate bombs, which are really good. It's a nice little touch. So, but I can see it being a trap, and maybe I'd put him a little bit lower at 11 actually.
I'm beginning to rather dramatically rethink what I put him.
But the reason he's 11 for me is because he moves so far up that he's doing something different from your army. So your army is suddenly doing these 2 different things, and if you can go, right, okay, Mortarian's in me, I can actually move here. Half his army can't see me. I can now concentrate on Mortarian, and once he's dead, I can then turn around, move back out, and deal with him.
Yeah.
And just the fact he's so quick it annoys me.
That suggests, he's not quite what you think. Perhaps he could be closer to the preconception, but maybe that's not a good thing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I just like and it's cool. It is what it is.
He's actually quite a good mix of someone who has a thing of his own, but also affects the army.
Yeah. Okay. So he's not bad, and he was a difficult one to judge.
He was my 14. He was my 14. Who's yours?
My 14 is, let me just double check. Rogel Dawn.
Interesting. Quite low.
He,
Right.
yeah, well, in part his weapon.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
terrible weapon, and that does matter at times. Let me try and find. I'm on the wrong page. Where are you, Dawny? Trying to find which. He's in the third book, but I cannot find him. There we go. There's Pollux. So he's just there. Cool. So 385 points. Cheap. Weapon skill 8 is quite good. 4 attacks. Does matter. What's he doing here? So the whole Legion get your leadership for the purposes of morale checks and pinning tests only. So not break tests, stuff like that. And add D3 to your assault result to determine who wins in an assault while he's in play. So that's cool. That's fine.
Mm.
And then Phalanx Breachers and Legion Terminators can be taken as troops. So this is my first one that's got an option there that affects your army.
In quite a significant way.
Yep, you can halve your attacks to get +2 strength and instant death. He's got 4 attacks. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Against the right enemy, that could be really useful. It's not great. I mean, +2 strength. He's strength 6, so he goes to strength 8, so it allows him. Plus, he's Storm Teeth is melee, shred, rampage. So yeah, you might need that to get through some dreadnoughts and stuff if you are fighting them. You do get to after deployment select up to 3 fortifications, and they get provide a cover save and/or pieces trained to provide a cover save. You can re-roll 1, I think. Yeah, re-roll 1s and pinning tests for models protected by those. So he's helping you on the battlefield there as well a little bit. And he's got a 2-up, 4-up, and no attack may wound him on better than a 3-up.
I feel that maybe not for his points, but I feel like I would rather bump his points and have that no better. But I think I would do on a 4+. It's quite powerful. No. It's quite powerful.
It's a powerful ability for the things that most people use to kill Primarchs, Terminators, stuff like that. But it doesn't stop some of your strength 6, like AP2 kind of stuff. Your strength 7, like you can get like the Mechanicum as an option there. Like they've got strength 6 AP2 weapons, and you don't want to be hit by a number of them for Dawn. And he's still got a 2-up armor save. You can still plink wounds off of him. It makes him survive better in those Primarch fights. But his weapon is strength as user 6, AP2, melee, shred, rampage, unwieldy. So he's unwieldy, terrible. Shred's all right, but you're wounding on 4s most of the time, if not 5s. And rampage is useful.
It's always the unwieldy.
Yeah. And yeah, and just strength user, like it's strength 6. It's not great. He's got a teleport Homer, which is cool.
One second. Which book are you looking at?
Oh, has he been updated?
I'm looking in the red book.
Yeah, he might.
It's no unwieldy.
Book 3 is now. It's unwieldy, yeah.
Not in the red book, it isn't.
Oh, they took that away. That's right. They updated it. Okay, cool.
And
but it's still not great.
Because when you said about the weapon being quite so bad, I was thinking it's not fantastic.
I forgot they updated
I didn't think it was that.
It's still not great. He's got 4 attacks. So this is the thing, right? Yeah. So against again, you've always got a bodyguard. Blah 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 blah. He's got 4 attacks. It's easy. Again, it's easy to miss with 2 of those. You're probably going to wound because of the shred. And rampage if you are outnumbered, but you're not always outnumbered. You can't rely on that at all. But you could conceivably only kill 2 models with Rogue or Dawn. If you're fighting a Primarch against a Primarch and you've got roughly the same kind of forces, your weapon skill 8, brilliant. You're going to be hitting on 4s a lot of the time. So again, and you're wounding on 4s, you might only get 1 wound through before invulnerables. So he's not that great in combat at all. No. He has got some cool rules, but it's just a bit lackluster.
Yeah.
Unless you put him in the Aos Dios, but then that's 600 points. So
I'm almost. I feel that's actually
terrible.
Why he's a bit. That's why he's a bit lower for me, because right. I find that a bit of a shame that he is there. I feel that it's something that's that significant. you're going to take that once in a blue moon.
I've seen someone do it at one of my
bother to do it.
events. Yeah, it was
once.
fun.
Yeah,
Fun, but
it's cool. It's cool, but it's just such a massive thing. I mean, a Thunderhawk, you know,
Well, he has got some.
just doesn't feel real.
Yeah. Yeah, and just giving up half your attacks to do strength 8 instant death attacks, like the amount of times that's going to be really useful is limited. But hey, it is what it is, isn't it? You're 14? Oh, we did yours. It was Matari,
my
wasn't
14,
it?
13.
My 13, Vulcan.
Okay.
And I shall tell you for why. He... it's one of those things. So he's a bit more Tarian. Let me get.
I toyed with him down at the similar level.
He has that thing. So every time I've seen him, he drives up in a Spartan with some crew with him, and then runs off by himself because of his rules. And I'm just trying to find his rules, and I can't remember which book they're in. Book 2. Let me find him, because I want to get it right. I can't remember what Legion number they are now. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? Trying to find him. Where is he? He's disappeared. He, yeah, I mean, he's tough. Don't get me wrong. Here we go. Salamanders. The Scaramangers. Okay, so he's strength 7, toughness 7 again. Cool. 4 attacks. Which is always, it's just, every time I see that and you don't have a weapon that really helps you with that, it annoys me. So what do we get? All models with the army get +1 leadership, and also gain the adamantium will special rule. Yeah, like adamantium will is not going to help you there that often. +1 leadership, cool, whatever. He may reroll failed it will not die or deny the witch tests. Yeah, cool, whatever. It will not die is not bad. He has got a 2+, 3+ invulnerable save, and this is why he's above Dawn. And halves the strength round down of any flamer, fusion, volkite, melter, plasma. Has that changed? I don't think it's changed. Basically, he's running around by himself because there's very few weapons that can really hurt him. He's toughness 7, and like a las, not las, they can do it. But melters are wounding him on 6s. Yeah. 6s. Plasma.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, and I think that you could have your unit. You could have built your army around it. Well, this is my Lord of War killing thing. This is when the Primarchs turn up, I'm going to deal with this. But actually, he neuters quite a lot of that.
Yeah, and he can run like against certain armies who maybe rely on melted plasma to deal with stuff, which is a fair thing to do. He can run around by himself to a certain extent, not worrying about shooting. And shooting is usually the real pain for Primarchs. If they're left in the open and all of a sudden you put down... the amount of times I've seen a Primarch squad killed by a 10-man plasma support squad, or 7-man plasma support squad dropping out of or driving up in a Rhino and just smashing it. Well, that's not going to work with Vulcan. You've got to be careful you don't get swapped in combat again. But yeah, I've seen him. Spartan drives up, unloads some fire drakes. They go one way. Vulcan goes the other way. That annoys me again. Much like Mortarion, in that why would the bodyguard unit leave them, even when he tells them to? There'd be that little bit of, nope, this is my job. I'm coming with you. He has Dawnbringer, so his weapon is strength 10. Melee, two-handed, concussive, armor bane, instant death, earth shatterer. So he doesn't have to swap anything out for instant death. He's already strength 10. And instead of attacking normally, so he's got the four attacks. Instead of doing that, place a 3-inch blast marker anywhere in base contact that does not cover any friendly models. All models under it take a strength 8 AP3 hit with a strike down special rule. So if someone does chuck 20 tech thralls into him, well, he can kill 7 or 8 in a turn. And this is what elevates him above Dawn for me. He doesn't do as much for your army, but in some ways, what he's doing for your army is running about by himself, being the mega pain in the rear.
Yes. yeah, I can see that. I mean, I put him, he is solidly in the middle for me, and that's kind of because of, I thought he had a mixture of the toughness and the striking capability, which I thought was made him quite powerful. I put him above Dawn as well.
The Mr. T of heresy.
And I'll take that. I think that's quite a good place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind him, actually, as a representation of his rules and similar.
No,
I think he's
the biggest
okay.
annoyance for me is the fact that he's running around without a unit for half the game. It just doesn't feel right for that kind of Primarch. But he's cool. He's cool because he can do that. He can walk into, someone's going, oh yeah, I love plasma. I bought all the plasma. And then they're like, oh shoot, I've got very little to deal with him. That's a problem. And he's got a 3-up invulnerable save on top of it. So if someone has got like 5 las cannons, it's cool. Like,
yeah,
he can wear it.
I quite like him, actually.
Yeah.
I sort of think he's quite accurate to what my picture of Vulcan is, with a few minor tweaks to that. I think he's all right.
Let me have a little look. Yeah, maybe he could have gone up, actually. Maybe he could have swapped with one with the next couple, 2 or 3. But he didn't. So, tough. Who's your 13?
Lorgar.
Ooh. Okay.
Partly because of the 4 attacks issue.
Right.
I like Living Icon. I think that's a cool
Are
representation.
we judging Lorgar or Lorgar Ascendant or whatever he is?
I'm going with the base rules.
Okay.
He's up where he is, and I toyed with him, and I've got a feeling I should have put Dawn. Perhaps my Dawn is 12 for me.
Right.
Lorgar is 13, and we discussed Dawn. So I think bringing that, and even Vulcan is 11 for me. I feel Lorgar.
Let me write those down again. So we got Dawn at 12 and Vulcan at 11. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So just to give these are ones we've discussed. So Vulcan, Dawn, Lorgar, and Dawn on this discussion, I'm beginning to think might switch round. I like the Imperial Fists, so I've got a feeling Dawn might be higher than he should be.
Yeah,
Lorgar, the Living Icon rule is cool. I think that's a good representation of him. I just think he either needs to be a little bit cheaper. I mean, he has got the option of the Transfigured. Yeah, he's not super survivable. Why should he be? He's not super hitty. Definitely shouldn't be. That's not how he's represented. The Living Icon rule is potent. And that +1 charge distance is very, very good.
Yeah,
and
so that's +1 to charge, immune to fear, and +1 to the total score. Who won assault if you can draw line of sight to him.
And that's
so if he's in a vehicle, that's not happening.
Yeah.
We should also say, so it's interesting is Lord Word Bearers use his leadership, which is 10, but Word Bearers, when they're making their test, they roll 3 dice and pick the 2 lowest, don't they? It's the base rule. So, like, doing it on a 10 is pretty good. Yeah, you fail it every now and then, but very rarely. You can reroll Deny the Witch. Yeah, cool. When you get to do that.
He does get the 3+ save against psychic attacks. That's kind of cool. But the 2+4+ is, again, a bit of a...
Standard.
It's standard, and therefore doesn't elevate him.
No. But, it's better than some.
I do like the option of I like options in these guys, and I like being able to the fact that you can take him in this Ascendant, this transfigured version. I think is quite cool. That's why he's up higher for me. And I feel he should have been higher than Dawn. Now I look.
He's 375 normal, 450 transfigured. I can't remember. I think you've got a slightly different version from the book 3.
Yeah, it's the
Dark
same.
Fortune.
I'm looking at the red book, and it's 75, so exactly the same.
I think some of the rules are written slightly different. He's either a level 2 psyker who can choose powers from telepathy or telekinesis.
Yeah, that's his erratic psychic power.
But must roll 3d6 and choose the 2 highest dice results. For me, 75 points is always worth it. To then go to level 3, who may select 3 powers from telepathy, telekinesis,
serious business,
and rolls 3d6 and picks the 2 lowest. Although it is 2 lowest, so if you do roll 1, 1, 2. You have to what do you call it? Not miscast. That's Warhammer.
This is where he's upped it, because it's just a straight up you can select rather than randomly roll.
Yeah, I knew there was a couple of differences, so that's much better.
What also moves on is he can harness warp charge on a 3+.
Yeah, so that's huge as well. But selecting your powers as well. So you talk about him only having 4 attacks or whatever, but if you want him in combat, you can choose some abilities to make him better in combat. Certainly to make
Yeah.
him tougher to kill.
Albeit ones that you're not guaranteed, because you've got to take psychic tests and etc.
Yeah, but you're taking him on 3d6 and picking the 2 lowest. Oh no, because it's not.
No,
Sorry, it's
it's
3
now-
pluses.
it's
I'm thinking of the
harness
other
on
thing.
warp
Sorry,
charge, 3
apologies.
plus.
Yes, because this
Still
is
good.
old rules. I'm going
Yeah,
mad.
still good. This is
3
the maths
pluses
there.
is good. You're
It is.
not many people are going to have more dice than you. Apologies, I'm getting so many different games I play now. And remembering the rules. But on top of that, if you are in combat with only your 4 attacks, but you have your psychic powers, if you want to reserve 1 for that, you have Dark Fortune as well. So, as a result, the player may reroll any failed denied witch. Cool. In addition, once per game, you may elect to force a single enemy model or unit to reroll all rolls of a 5 or a 6, both to hit and to wound Lorgar in any given player turn. You must declare it beforehand. So, if you are in trouble, or you do want to go into that one where you're like, I need to break the back of this big unit, and there's a character in there, or there's a Primarch, you can go, right, I'm going to take him, I'm going to challenge him, so he can only attack me. I'm going to be taking less damage, and then, pile in and hopefully break him. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Primarch. That could be a unit of Terminators. I know, because it's challenge, isn't it? Single enemy model or unit to reroll unit.
It's
So
the or unit. I missed that
Yes.
when I reread this the other day. It's the or unit makes
So-
it quite potent.
So you can you can charge him out lone. It's risky. You can charge him out lone into a unit of Terminators, and have it's a small unit, a big unit. You won't survive anyway, but it gives you an option to do something like that
Yeah.
that is different, or keeps you alive in that Primarch fight, or not even a Primarch fight, but because he's not, he's maybe a Valdor fight or something like that. Those things as well.
That could be significant for abilities that trigger on a 6.
Yeah,
There is that. And the
I
fact
think-
that it is to hit and to wound, that's quite good. But
yeah, absolutely.
it's once per game. I find those sorts of rules are they're the rules that are more powerful are the always on, perhaps less potent, but they're always on and you're going to remember to use them. This is the
Sure.
sort of thing I can see you forget to use or use it at the wrong time. It's just a little bit trickier, isn't it? It's why he's there. I do remember, it sticks in my mind when they brought him out, this ability to have, or rather the option to have him in these 2 flavors has stuck in my mind throughout, and I think that's
Cool.
that says a lot to him. That's why I considered putting him higher, but overall as an effective force, that's why he is my 13.
Yeah, you know what? I actually read some stuff wrong. I'm making some changes. So
I feel
is
Dawn should be lower than Lorgar based on this good
Sure.
discussion.
he is going to go. He's going to go. Where is he going to go? I'm going to. What number are we on anyway?
Well, I'm on 13.
13. That's right.
And I've declared my 11, 12, and 13. Although
Yes,
I
you
tell you
have.
what, who cares? I'm going to change Lorgar and Dawn because you've made a very convincing argument.
I'm very confused now. So
I'll reread it in a
Lorgar
minute.
and Dawn. Dawn's okay. So Dawn's now 13. Lorgar's 12.
There you go.
Cool.
And Vulcan's
Right.
still 11 because I think he's pretty cool.
No worries. My Vulcan was 13. That's right. I'm going to put him in. Where did I have him? Okay. Yeah.
Much
Cool.
more
No worries.
confident about this now.
I've got Lorgar as 11 now. I
Okay.
think because you can choose. It's been a long time since I've looked at the psychic powers, but because you can choose a couple, he has a bit of flexibility in that. But
When do
transfigured
you choose
only.
psychic powers? When do you choose them? Do you choose them after
Start
you've
the
seen
game.
your opponent's force? Start the game.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to choose them at the point you wrote the army list,
I'm
we're
trying
gonna
to
we're
remember.
gonna
Blimey.
we're gonna have to do this all over again in
Yes,
the coming months,
hopefully.
aren't we?
Well, yeah, no, yeah, we will. We will after a certain amount of time of playing. It's all content. It's all good. Yeah, I've just done a big rewrite and put Lorgar there because I don't know what came over me. So Lorgar is 11 for me, which means I've changed Mortarion. Hold on, can't be 11. I've got Mortarion as 11. What have I done here? No, Mortarion's gone to 10.
I think Lorgar's solidly above Mortarion.
I don't think he's solidly. I think he's an interesting guy.
To be fair, I've said solidly above Mortarion. I've got him 2 places above Mortarion.
Exactly. I've got Mortarion 1 place above him. That's fine. So that was your 13, but you've done your 12. So my 12
my 12
is
and my 11.
cool. My 12 is Corax.
Interesting. Okay, I've
Now,
got him at 10.
Okay, let me write that down while I'm here because I'm getting all confused.
We're smashing
Corax
through
at
these.
10. Yeah. So 450 points. Initiative 7, cool. He has got his jump infantry, always good. He's got +1 initiative and strength any turn which he charges, and then all Raven Guard gain acute senses special rule. Meh, like very rarely that's going to come in. They automatically run on a 6. It's okay, but it can be really useful in very clutch circumstances.
Read that again.
So, and while he's on the table, they all Space Marines, Raven Guard, do not have to roll for run distances. It is always a 6.
Flat 6. This is just it. Yes, I thought it was a re-roll. You said that.
No, it's a 6.
I wonder if they changed it. Flat 6. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Shadow Lord, a really interesting rule. So, unless he's part of a unit, if he's not the closest target to the firing unit, or the firing unit is either a Psyker or a Demon of some kind, or another Primarch, only snapshots.
I think that's cool. And there's a number of cool rules here that I think this is.
Yeah.
I mean, his stat line's great. Initiative 7, attack 6.
It's cool. Yeah, no, it's good for a Primarch. It's fairly, it's basic but decent with the initiative 7 and weapon skill 7. It's cool. He that rule is cool. You've got to build your army to make sure that he's not the closest, and he's not like kill these 5 Space Marines. Now he's the closest. So you've got to play around it.
Yeah. Okay.
But he may also, at the beginning of any of your turn, be removed from play and placed in ongoing reserves. He may even be withdrawn from close combat in this manner, but only if his initiative is higher than that of his opponents.
Still good, it makes pretty likely.
Yeah, other Primarchs is an issue.
Yeah, fair enough.
But some Primarchs he is quicker than. So if he gets himself stuck in one of those 4 attack Primarchs, like he's quicker than Lorgar. He's same as Angron, but I'm trying to think of some of the heavier Primarchs. Reboot Guilliman, quicker than him. There'll be like
Vulcan,
Ferrus and Perturabo, and he'll be quicker than those as well. So if you get caught out of position, basically, sometimes combats go wrong and you get stuck, and then all of a sudden these Terminators come in, they smash you down. You've got a couple of wounds left. You're like, actually, getting out of dodge. I'm going. See you later. I'll make some.
I think that's super useful.
Yeah, so it's a real cool utility piece. Or even just, you can send him up a flank, draw some troops over, and just go, you know what? Next turn, I'm coming on the other flank.
Particularly if you've taken some little bits of units, Damocles, things that allow you to manipulate your reserve rolls and stuff.
Well, ongoing reserves automatically come back on, don't they? Ongoing reserves are different from reserves.
Got it. I was assuming it was just regular reserves. Right. Okay.
No. So reserve rolls you roll for. I'm just going to double check this in the rules while I've got the book here. You roll for reserve rolls, but ongoing reserves, 147 in the rule book. It's good to get the rule book out. I did not
appreciate the subtlety of that difference. Okay, so he just comes back next turn. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't.
That's good, otherwise you'd be taking quite a risk. He's gone and he's not coming back.
No, absolutely. Reserves. There's loads of reserves. If your unit is reserves, always re-enter play at the start of the controller player's following turn. So you can't do it until the last turn of the game because you'll be dead because you're off the table. But hey, it's cool. So the one downside for his really cool ability not to be shot is he's got a 5-up invulnerable, but that's cool. It's 2-up, 5-up. The idea is you're not taking that many shots. If you're having him out by himself, he shouldn't be the closest thing. That's cool. In addition, enemy units deep striking within 12 will suffer a deep strike mishap on any roll of a double. So if they are trying to drop in something to melt a gun you, then maybe not melt a gun, but plasma you, they won't be double tapping unless they're really, really risking it. It's a 1 in 6 to mishap then before any other issues. Enemy teleport homers and location beacons do not function within that radius, so it doubles down on that. He's got blind on his weapons, which is my favourite rule. absolutely brilliant. He is only strength 6, so again, he's got to be careful what he does, but he does have fighting styles which help. So
I really like this. This is why he's quite high for me. Is the fighting style again? Choices, and it seems very thematic.
Choose one at the beginning of the assault phase. He either 5 up wound rolls, wound no matter the toughness, and any rolls to damage vehicles gain an extra 3 to that armor penetration. So you're strength 9 now if you're doing that. So suddenly you don't have to worry about Contemptor so much. Or again, if you're fighting lots of troops, you've got 6 attacks anyway, but gain D3 so you can rinse troops. Or he's -1 to hit rolls of every enemy model which attacks him in an assault phase until the beginning of the player's controlling players next assault phase. So that 2 rounds. So if you do want to go into something and hold them, like, you can do that.
And the utility of being able to choose those fighting styles, I think, is what's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you get caught out again and someone charges you, you can go, -1 to that, thank you very much. Don't want that. Utility of that is really big. He's got hit and run as well. So, like, he makes that mistake, he gets out of there, or he charges in, so he can't get shot, and then disappears and causes problems. And then, yes, just the Corvidite Pinion's great, cool. And he can have a
cool,
he can vector strike. That's right. He can vector strike. So he can when fire deep strike, you can reroll the scatter. He's automatically delayed if you mishap, so he can't die. And then he can vector strike when he jump packs, which is pretty useful when there's a flyer floating around every now and then. Although he's only strength.
He's also got these strength 5 AP3 Hammer of Wrath attacks, which are always happening on his attack. There's a lot of little bits here that add up to quite a potent force.
So that's cool. It is cool. I'm not worried about the heavy bar.
Have you ever seen anyone do a conversion of that?
I have. It looked quite good.
I was thinking that. I would imagine there'd be quite a cool conversion.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much the campaign thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Corax is really useful, but he's useful around a very, like, he can't do the heavy lifting for you that some other Primarchs can.
No, but which is why he is where he is.
It works.
Yeah, but I think it's his utility that's putting him where he is. And I think these rules reflect the image I have of Corax quite successfully, which is why I think he's
it does.
Hence why he's my number 10.
He will really hound. The problem we'll have is if there's quite a compact army, which is quite tough.
Yeah,
then it becomes quite difficult for him to do all those things he wants to do. But he's still doing little bits and pieces, so it's not too bad. I think little things like the run distance 6 actually could be more useful than people think. But yeah, the fighting styles is really useful.
It's really irritating when you roll that 1 or 2.
Yeah,
right, okay.
But it's knowing that okay, I'm 12 inches away from that objective. I'm going to go and grab that next turn. I don't have to worry about it. I'm there. I can do this and this and this.
Does he get +1 initiative and +1 strength?
And strength on the turn he charges.
Does that apply for his Shadow Lord rule? Because he can basically withdraw if his initiative is higher than his opponent's. Is it his unmodified initiative?
Hit and run. Let's have a little look, shall we? You've got the book here.
It's not hit and run. It's his
Shadow Lord
at the beginning of any Corax control player turn. So it's irrelevant because he gets the +1 initiative.
No, because he only gets it on the
charges.
So no, he can't.
Yeah, it's the timing. It's the timing.
But hit and run, you need that. It doesn't matter because you're initiative 7, so it's what you roll anyway. But no, it's cool. I like Corax. He's good.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
he's 450. He's not cheap for a Primarch that does those little outside things. He's got shroud bombs as well. They're cool. But
I think he's quite good.
He's cool.
Effective. Yeah.
Groovy. So that was my 12. Your 12 was Lorgar.
Correct.
Your 11 was Vulcan. My 11 was Lorgar. Your 10 was Corax. My 10 was Mortarion. We're flying. Cool. There's a lot of doubles up already. So number 9 for you. Go for it.
Perturabo.
Ooh. Okay, let me find Perty.
I was
booked here.
I was torn over this guy and the guy who's one ahead of him, but I just went this way.
Mine is going to confuse people, but we'll do that in a minute. So Perturabo, where are you? Oh, Perturabo. I think I've got the wrong book. I think you're in the next book. Is he book 3 or book 2?
He suffers, for my sake, he suffers a little bit, but he does a better job of it. He suffers a little bit what Varus does. He's weapon skill 8, it's pretty cool. He's strength 7, also pretty cool. His initiative 5 is not great by any stretch. His
to be
4
honest,
attacks isn't great.
Once you're below every other Primarch, I'm not sure that it matters that much on initiative.
I suppose also it doesn't matter when one assumes
when you're going last
taking
anyway.
Forgebreaker. Yeah, exactly. You're taking Forgebreaker, so you'll want to be taking the hits. Which is why he's as high as he is for me. It's why he's in the top 10. He's because of that, but it's still his base stats are a thing. He has, Forgebreaker, pretty good, particularly with blind and stuff. That's pretty handy. It makes it more expensive though. He's really expensive. 490. It's at
490. Yeah.
That's painful. His,
I mean, you don't need it though. He is strength 7.
Yeah, okay, but then what's he doing then? What's he doing if you haven't got that in there? It makes him pretty potent.
It means you're not hurting Primarchs. That's pretty much it. Concussive. There's not blind.
You've got no AP. You've got no AP.
Oh no, you haven't, because you're not a monstrous creature, are you? So yeah, you do take it, don't you? Yeah. No, that's fair.
You've got no AP, so you'd be.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're relying on his shooting. I think at that point.
It's all right. It's all right.
Really ram home this point.
Right. So, all of his attacks have Wrecker and Tank Hunters, which is good. So you're not Wreckers, but Tank Hunters is useful because you're just getting that extra reliability if you do come up against any vehicles on knights or anything like that. All Iron Warriors become stubborn. Is good, pretty good. All models in the same army as him get Furious Charge while in the enemy's deployment zone. Yeah, it's okay. You'd have to build that way. You may begin rolling for reserves from the first turn of the game rather than the second. That's big.
I think that's good. I also like that.
That is one of his best rules, to be fair. That means if you're taking a drop pod style army, you can get up to 3/4 of your drop pods on turn 1. Your flyers are not you're getting a Fire Raptor on turn 1. You're getting a Lightning on turn 1 before the enemy Spartan gets to move.
You start chucking in your
you've got the chance
which help it as well. You put in a Damocles and stuff with your +1s on that.
Yeah, it just gives you the chance to be able to neuter the opponent. They got a Spartan in with their Primarch in, and you've shot it before it's moved. It gives you so much more control of the battlefield. That's a powerful rule. He can cool down, unless he's engaged or held in reserve, he may cool down a single precision bombardment, line of sight drawn from his model or any new service. So it's a D3 strength 9 AP2 large blast twin linked barrage. That's good.
It's pretty damn good, isn't it?
That is pretty good. So, and that's most Primarchs have a shooting attack, which is well, he can do this.
And his shooting attack isn't bad.
Yeah, but
you're
going to do
range
this.
unlimited. I mean, that's what's so cool.
That's
it's once per game. Okay.
Yeah. But to be honest, you want to be getting him towards combat or whatever. But it's taking out a decent tank, or someone's got a unit of tanks or it's D3 with large blast. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. And then he has the Logos, so he's got 2 up, 3 up. And that, for me, is a big thing, the 3 up, all the time. Close combat attacks using Perturab's profile have an AP value of 2, so you don't need Forgebreaker. So Forgebreaker, not necessarily required.
No, absolutely. Right, that changes things. Because him just tearing things apart.
I thought there was something. Immunity to concussive and blind, nice.
Yes.
Because blind can be really annoying when it does hurt you. He has got a Teleport Homer, Cortex Controller, Nuncio Vox, Cognis Signum. Again, just nice little things which fit well as well. And then
this next one's big.
All Terminators can Deep Strike, so that plays into gaining Furious Charge if you're in the enemy territory as well. Mm-hmm. And he's got his Wrist Cannon, which is Strength 6 AP3, which is not bad. Twin Linked and Rending. 24-inch range. That's pretty good. So you can be dropping him in, from turn 1 potentially, because that's what he does, and half his army if you want to go that way, or you can be rolling up, being stubborn, and also your Iron Warriors already, so you don't care about taking casualties from shooting and stuff like that. And that turn you come in, if you want to drop him in, you can drop the orbital bombardment. Like he's higher for me, and maybe he's a bit too high. Oh no, he's an 8 for me.
Okay, so similar sort of place. I toyed with him at 8. It was a toss up between.
What did you have him as? Sorry,
Number 9.
Oh yeah, so it's pretty much the same. He's tough. Like the big things about him are he's incredibly tough. So I remember when Russ came out at the Weekender, everyone was like, right, let's see what Russ can kill. Turns out he can kill most things. Perturabo was one of the ones that it took him the longest to go through, partly because of
more than Mortarion and Vulcan.
It's the 3-up. So whoever's got the 3-up is a big part of it. 3-up and the fact that concussive. So it was he could, like, he wasn't
immunity,
he could
to
keep hitting,
yeah.
like, so he could keep doing the damage. And some of it's dice as well, don't get me wrong. But he could also cause blind, like you get a lucky 6. Like, and Russ, Russ still took him down, kind of thing. But it as you say, a lucky blind and concussive and a 3-up invulnerable. He's tough. He's not. Yeah, he hasn't got the big toughness, but most of the time that doesn't matter in a Primarch fight. To be fair,
the Forge Breaker conversation is a really interesting. The Forge Breaker decision is a really interesting one because a 490 is painful.
It depends what you put him with. I think if you're putting him with
suddenly the strength 10, AP 1 is cool.
Yeah, but if you're taking a bodyguard of Terminators with Chain Fists or Iron Circle, you don't necessarily need him, so you can keep him cheaper. And it depends if he's going to be walking across the board or dropping down, and lots of other little things with it.
I really like the Iron Circle. Some of the nicest models. The fact that there's not really an effective way other than the Tormentor to transport them is a big deal.
Yeah. But you could just take a Terminator unit if you want.
Yeah, including the new ones, the very specific ones. What are they? Dominators.
Lots of options with that. If you want to drop him in, or you can walk across the board. It's fine. But he's got that teleport Homer as well. So if he drops down early, then other stuff can drop in around him in the next turns, which again is really cool. Yeah. So there's some cool stuff going on in that. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think he's good. I'm a fan. Who's your
9? My 9 is where are we? The Lion.
Really?
Yes. So 460 points. Let me have a little look. Let me write that down. The Lion, number 9. 460 points. He's strength 7. Cool. He's initiative 7. Cool. He's got 5 attack. Cool. Weapon skill 8. Yeah, that's cool. What else has he got? Some other stuff in there. He's got stasis grenades, actually. I forgot about that. That's quite cool. All friendly models roll an additional d6 for morale checks and use the 2 lowest. I forgot he had that, to be fair. He's got
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And within 12, add 1 to the wound value to determine which side won a given combat. Cool, nothing special, but that +1, the extra d6 for morale checks is really good. His biggest rule, I think, is this one actually. You may choose to move 8 instead of rolling a charge, and you ignore difficult terrain and dangerous terrain.
Yeah, that is big.
I think that's his biggest rule in guaranteeing a charge. Guaranteeing you can't pre-measure it, but you have a good idea what. 5 or 6, 7,
and any unit he joined.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If it was just on him, that's one thing, but the unit as well.
I think that's his best rule. Not necessarily most impactful, but it's his best rule in that respect. When he's reduced to 4 wounds, he gets +1 attack, increased to +2 attacks when he's at 2 wounds or less. Yeah, cool, whatever. He's got a lot of attacks. In any assault phase, he's never required to roll more than a 4+ to hit an enemy model. Very rare that's going to come into play. But cool, like keeps him in the fight longer against Guilliman and Horus longer. Deathwing companions may be included as part of his Lord of War section, so they're not coming out of other options, which is good, but okay, cool, whatever. 2+4+ invulnerable save, and reroll first invulnerable save each turn. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But stasis grenades, cool. Yeah, initiative 1 to deal with the game turn, fine. Which one's the good weapon? The lion sword, or is it the wolf blade? I can never remember. It's the lion sword. Like melee lance, fleshbane. No, you don't need that, do you? Melee two-handed shred, fearsome ruin. Any unit which suffers one or more casualties from this weapon makes a morale check during the assault phase. Must roll an additional d6 for their check and keep the 2 highest. So if you want to break units, fearsome ruin is good. There are times where you may not wish to, but it's all round a better weapon. Okay, so what does he do for your army? He gives you an extra d6 on morale checks and +1 to the wound value within 12 inches. That's why he's not higher than me, for me.
He's not doing enough
He's
for
not.
the army.
He's combat, right? And when people came out and talked to him, they were like, "Can he take Russ? Can he take Gulliman? Can he take Horus?" And the answer was probably not. But that doesn't mean he's bad. It means he's in the top echelons of combat Primarchs. Cool. Weirdly, I've got quite a few combat Primarchs up the top here, but I value other stuff. He's okay. He's got nothing there to get you. He's got nothing to get you in combat quicker. He can just make that charge on an 8 if you wish. However, you've got to choose to. Oh no, it's after you declare it, so you can measure. Oh, when do you measure? That's a good question. I'd have to look at the rules on that. But if you're trying to eye it up and you're like, okay, I think that's 6 inches, fine, cool. You can rely on that. But if it's longer, it's not doing any good. I think it's a cool rule. I say, don't get me wrong, particularly when going through terrain. The ability to ignore the 2 and roll the 8. Sometimes those charges through buildings become really annoying. So you declare the charge. Resolve Overwatch. Roll once all over. Resolve the charge. Controller can charge units. Roll 2d6. The number of instances yours. Yeah, so you never pre-measure, do you? So you've got to. You don't measure a charge until you move.
No.
So there might be an occasion where you are like, "Ooh, do I pick the 8 or do I have to roll?" Which could be quite entertaining.
I quite like that though. I quite like that you've got that choice.
I mean, edge case. Like it's not going to happen very often.
You're going to get to know these. Obviously, most people get to know these things quite well.
So this Primarch, he's going to ruin stuff. But again, until you get to Primarch level characters, does it matter? Because he's got 5 attacks, maybe a couple more if he's hurt. But so have other Primarchs, and they will ruin basic stuff as well.
I think, yeah, but I do think he has got a very clear purpose. I think he's very good. I do think he's got enough utility there, particularly, I mean, you can take him with his Deathwing companions and similar, tuck them in, get an extra unit of them effectively. I think his overall purpose and effectiveness, yes, he's particularly good against very powerful characters. I think that compensates the criticism I would have had of him, which is one of his traits, I suppose, was he was a strategic genius.
You don't see that here.
Exactly. That's the only bit I think falls down.
I was expecting him to have
there isn't something in there that
something like seizing or roll to go first, or something that represented the fact that he was one of the best generals.
Exactly.
This guy, if you get into Primarch fighting, Primarch on Primarch, he jumps up the list. But
yes, but as we said,
that's less relevant here.
Yes.
So
but that's the only bit. However, the rest of it, I think there's some really clever.
Yeah, it's cool.
Some really interesting rules in this. I think he's powerful. I think he's well pointed. I think it's mainly.
I mean,
he's
460 is a lot.
It's a lot, but he does
It's a lot. But does he?
Or rather, he's powerful.
He's powerful, yeah, and that is why he's down there for me.
Which way you've got him at 9?
9.
I've got him up at 6.
Cool. Okay, fair enough. Interesting.
Because I thought he captured his beings quite well, with one exception.
No worries. So my 8 is Perturabo. What's your 8?
Gilliman.
Okie dokie.
And it was real toss-up between Gilliman. Actually, my 7, 8, 9 were all shuffled around a bit several times. But Gilliman, yeah, I think he's good. Mainly, again, he captures what that army is about really quite effectively.
Right.
I think
Okay.
I think he's cool from that point of
Let's
view.
look at it. So he's a 6s across the board except for weapon skill. Cool. 4 attacks. Yeah. Cool. Fine. That's slightly less relevant for him really. +1 leadership for all Ultramarines. That's cool. Suzerain and Terminator squads may be taken as troops. That's cool. Preternatural strategy. So start of the game, isn't it? What do you do? If an army containing is determined to have the first turn in a particular mission, the opponent player must reroll successful attempts to seize the initiative where this is a factor. That's pretty good. Like the semi-reliability of knowing that you're not going to get seized upon allows you to set up a little bit more proactively. A single unit gets to choose a single unit entry. So if you have multiple unit entries of the same type, they all get it. Implacable Advance, Interceptor, or Tank Hunters. So things like giving Land Raider Proteuses Tank Hunters, or I don't know, heavy support squads, Implacable Advance, so they can sit on objectives, or Tank Hunters, because Tank Hunters is probably the best one. Or Interceptor, but when's it done? One special rule.
It's the fact to get the most out of that suggests you want multiple of the thing in the army. So, like you say, and it's all of that type. It would be interesting giving it to something like heavy support squads or tactical support squads, because it would be all of them, or even something basic like
3, 5
squads.
Yeah, 3 smaller heavy support squads, keeping them fairly cheap with Tank Hunters. Means you can. Does it say when you do it? It doesn't say when you do it. Can't remember. Anyway, okay, cool. He then also gets, when fighting in a challenge, he gains +1 weapon skill on each round, continuous combat after the first. So weapon skill 8 from second round, weapon skill 9, weapon skill 10. It's reset if he fights someone else. So that's pretty cool. He may reroll failed deny the witch tests. He has the armor of reason, so 2 up, 4 up. First invulnerable save of each phase may be rerolled, so better than Lions. And then he has 2 combat weapons, so you can either go for a +1 strength, so strength 7 AP2, strength 7 AP2 melee shred murder strike specialist weapon, or handed dominion strength 10 melee concussion unwieldy specialist weapon. So if you're fighting in a vehicle, you can really murder it. Or if you're fighting other stuff, murder strike, 6s to hit, give you 6s to wound, cause instant attacks with special will cause instant death on a 6 to wound, and any viable saves against them. Roll any viable saves against these. Yeah, separately. That's cool. Yeah, I think for me, I'd put him at 4.
Whoa, really high.
Because you can build into aspects of it. So he has the 2 weapons which you can choose from. Any assault phase, so that is good. Is good. He has the armor of reason, means if you do get into a tough fight, you're re-rolling that. I mean, you're re-rolling that invulnerable every phase is really cool. Maybe I'll put him a little bit high. Actually, I think I'll put him a little bit high. I'm changing that.
That seems high.
I'm dropping him. Dropping him. Where's my number 7? Who's number?
He is pointed well. He's quite efficient.
I'm putting him down to 7.
Okay.
Which is a bit of a drop. But, oh, blimey, that's putting him up there. I don't know if this is right, Okay, that's cool. It's done. I'm putting him at 7. But again, I think there's a few there that could easily swap around. But I think if you build into it with a preternatural strategy, like...
I see where you're coming from. I just think the idea, even as we were talking about it, the idea of building a list around it, I almost feel like you might be making too much of it. It's a useful thing.
No, you keep it in mind, I think. Yeah, you keep it in mind.
Exactly.
But it's unlike Ferris. Like earlier on, we talked about Ferris. You've got to take vehicles. You're not locked into any specific unit in this. You could take I don't know, support squads and make them implacable advance, and then have plasma support squads dotted around your army, like 3 of them. Like, why not? They're scoring now. and you can have them in rhinos doing stuff, and they could they could do their job. You could have units with combi weapons, like they one-shot combi weapons, and then have them go off and do stuff. Like, it gives you a utility within that. The fact that he gets tougher to fight in challenges means that if you do have any kind of resilient character that he is holding off, he can hold off other Primarchs for long enough, if that is a case. And then he's got the 4+ re-rolling 1 per phase as well.
I think that picking a unit, I think the utility of that is cool. I just wonder how many of the units where that's particularly effective do people have in their collection, where they have 2, 3, or more of that particular.
Well, I think Ultramarine players do have it.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they factor it in.
You've got to have a pretty big collection of models to have that.
No, because I think they have an idea of roughly what they're doing. So they have Fair 2 enough. Or 3 units where they choose those. I think that's the idea. Like, Mate Giles has a number of Land Raiders in his, and putting it on them is pretty cool. Like, if you want, it allows you to dive into Rights of War with it as well. So you can have Rights of War which allow you to take other stuff as troops and give them tank hunters. So you could do an armor breakthrough and they go, yeah, my Predators are all tank hunters.
The ability to put it on some of those vehicles is quite significant. Because, I mean, they use that example in explaining how it doesn't apply to dedicated transports, which is fair enough. But it does apply to the Land Raider Battle Squadron. So it would be all types of Land Raider, not just the Phobos or the Proteus or similar. I'd say with the Predators, it would be regardless of what you've armed them with, which I think is quite cool. That is quite cool. Yeah, it's good. I don't think it's game breaking. I don't think it's massive.
I don't think
I think it's really cool. I think it's quite cool, and that's why he's where he is on me, for me.
It's giving your army something, whilst he can also wade in, because he's got those 2 weapons and the ability to take the damage. I think I did get him a little bit too high. I got a little bit carried away with it. He's only 400 points as well.
I do think he's very efficient. Yeah,
for the points, like that was part of my thinking within that is he's one of the cheapest ones.
For what he does, for sure.
And gives you a lot of cool stuff.
His 2 weapons are a key part of that.
Yeah, and when you add in the fact that, like, if you've hit a unit with Ultramarines, like, you do have those units with tank hunters. You fire one lone dude, and then you're like, cool, now my tank hunters are going to shoot it and kill it. And I've got more tank hunters than you.
I find it curious that I was just rereading that there. He's got the 2 weapons, both of which are specialist, so he gets +1 attack. Why not just put that in his base profile?
No, all of the models' attacks are made with a chosen profile. He can only use one of them. He doesn't. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
No, you make a point. That's why. Okay.
Yeah. But in either case, he gains +1 attack for using 2 specialist weapons. It's just it's one of those things. I think with
fine.
Like, because if you did put that in his profile, you'd then have to write in there include second weapon, whereas that just allows you to do it. But either way,
yeah, okay,
cool. So he was my cool. Where did we get up to?
He's my 8.
You're 8. That's right, and I ended up with him at 6.
6?
I dropped him down to.
Who was your 8?
My 8 is Perturabo.
Okay, right. We're still
pretty
close.
I had that as 8.
In general, we're pretty close.
Yeah, not too bad. Number 7. Okay, Sanguinius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 485 points.
Expensive.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Right, he gains +1 initiative, +1 attack on the first turn of combat, which is better than Corax. And all friendly jump infantry Blood Angels may choose to use their jump packs in both the movement and assault phases. That's a nice little bonus. It means you're reliable.
Particularly good in Blood Angels because they're going very likely to be taking a large number of jump packs.
Well, yeah, but exactly. But even if you didn't, you could choose to take more. It just allows you those better charges at the end of the day. Dawnbreaker squads may be chosen as troops. Cool. Not too worried about that. Yeah, it's fine. Friendly units within 3 inches of him gain plus D3 to the wound values to calculate if the unit is 1 close combat. Chances are that's going to be your 1 combat. There are edge cases where it will be 2, but Sanguinius is probably going to win his own combat by a huge amount, plus D3. He has a 2-up, 4-up invulnerable save and allows him to reroll any invulnerable saves on the turn in which he charges, which is nice when you're going into those bigger targets.
when they were putting these rules together, I was obviously very keen to see Sanguinius' rules. I'm surprised that they went 2+ for him. I think
Why?
it's good.
Really?
I think well, just because he's flying, not through a jump pack. I thought that would be where they'd make him a bit of a glass cannon. They'd make him absolutely
No.
lethal, but
This guy's got
not
to be able to go
super
toe to
survivable.
toe with everything.
And they've done that. I'm glad they
Yeah.
did. But I just thought there was every chance they
Sure.
ended up with 3+.
No worries. Great wings. He has a jump pack, and both in movement and assault phases. That's cool. When he hammer wraths, it's strength 10, AP 2.
That's vicious.
It's one hit though, so
Still,
it's
though,
good. It's good.
One hit
Don't get me
stronger than
wrong.
a las cannon.
When deploying via deep strike, he does not scatter and his unit. That's good. Very good.
Really good. Really good. Yes.
Okay, and then you get to his weapons. Oh, no, so Sky Strike. So again, he can zoom. He can do a what do we call it? So at the end of the movement phase, which is model moved, he does the. This unit takes one hit, strength 6, AP 2, random allocation, ignore cover. Yeah, so it's the what should we call it? Hit against the side armor. It's only strength 6. It's all right. It's cool. It's a nice rule to have. It's nothing special. Then he's got an Infernus, and then he's got the 2 weapons, which you're always taking. Oh yeah, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've looked at these. Actually, the spear, aren't you? You're always taking the spear because it's cooler.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So the spear is +3 on the charge, strength user, AP1 on the charge, AP2 otherwise. Melee 2-handed instant death, mastercrafted Wrath of Angels. So for each successful wound roll of 6, suffers an additional wound using the same profile, and it can be thrown at strength 7. Instant death armor bane with Wrath of Angels.
I do love that if he
well.
throws it, it's gone.
Yeah, but but end of the turn, or once you've finished, once you don't need to be able to kill stuff with that anymore, it could be useful for like finishing off that tank or what have you. So the reason he's down here is, so what does he do for your army? You can charge slightly more reliably.
That's a pretty big deal for Blood Angels.
It's useful, but only if you're wearing jump packs. So to get the most out of it, you're pushing into one form. And no, so Age of Empire, Chris Mills loves deep striking with all his armies. Deep striking is very hit and miss. Yes, Sanguinius can come down and not scatter. Doesn't mean your other ones can't. It means you've still got to roll for him. So he's charging turn 3 earliest if you're bringing him in on that way, unless you do. Oh no, their Rite of War allows stuff to come down turn 1, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So then you have to lean into that. So you're playing that one way. Makes him cool. Better players will make that difficult for you.
Yes.
Right, Sanguinius will always get into something because he can be right on you turn 2 with that charge. But there are ways to screen, and there are ways to bring a lot of firepower. And because it's usually with jump pack troops, they're not as tough.
Not as tough as Terminators, no.
Can take, so
heavy stuff,
so you're playing into that. So again, he's a combat dude, and actually, what he's doing for your army is helping you build into a Rite of War, which you can already take. But he does provide a great deal of threat once you take it. But again, once he's charged,
his base stats are formidable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Yeah, don't get me wrong. We didn't do that, did we? So weapon skill 9, initiative 7 with 6 attacks. It's pretty filth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It is great. But again, especially with the plus D3 to the wound value to win close combats, like stuff's run unless he charges stubborn stuff. It's either dead or running away, and then he's getting shot a lot, and he's only getting the rerolls on the charge. Well, he's killed a lot of stuff on the charge.
He is expensive.
Stuff.
He is expensive.
And he's basically 500 points for that as well.
He is expensive. That hurts.
So I think with all that, like, if I was playing against him and I had most of the armies I've got, I'd be like, okay, right, well, I know I'm safe for turn 1. Like, you can't charge me. See where he comes down. Okay, like, pack the battlefield so he can't get past my front unit of blocking. Right, he's going to kill that unit. That's fine. I will, if I want to kill him, I will launch stuff at him. Now he could fly off and go by himself, but again, then once he's killed something, it's him by himself, and all of a sudden, yeah, he's toughness 6 with 6 wounds and a 2+ save, but you've got enough good weapons, you'll take that down.
I think he's. I mean,
it's all relative. We're talking about Primarchs.
Yeah. The right of
Yeah.
war is a significant one. Because you say
It does help.
if he comes down turn 1, he is providing a hell of a thing there. Well, yeah, but I'm talking about with the right of war.
Yeah, but you still got to roll reserves, don't you? I'm pretty sure.
Or was it a case you choose some that come down first turn?
I can't remember.
And you got to swap. I can't remember. No, we ought to look it up. We ought to know what we're talking about. Either way, if something's coming, I suppose you've got to roll one individually, don't you? You don't
they get 5 up cover save the turn they come down as well, which is not too bad. But
no. But the fact that he's
sorry. Jump infantry squads do not need to roll for the first turn. So all of the jump infantry squads. So that does make it better. But that's the right of war. That's not sanguineous.
No, but he's drawing a lot of the fire.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? I'm not sure.
But is he? Again, he will do. But for a lot of people, I don't think he should. They get all the weapons gain pinning the turn they come down. But if you're shooting, you're not running. Therefore, if they have demolisher cannons, you are losing whole units. So yeah, and if he does drop down, I think some people go, oh my god, Sanguinius is right there, what do I do? Well, if you kill 4 units of assault marines and leave his alone, chances are can Sanguinius run because then the other thing you could do is you could just spread out. Whenever there's a Primarch, they can only be in one place. And Sanguinius is very good.
Like Korax, though, he is mobile.
And that is big. Yeah, that is big.
Which is why he's expensive. I do think he is very expensive, though. Which is why he's not higher in my list.
He's very expensive. Yeah. Where is he in your list?
He is 5.
Cool, that's fair enough. I think again there's another set here that could easily be swapped around.
Yeah, so. I feel like I think the fact that he makes Dawnbreaker troops is cool. But I feel there's where you unlock a specific thing to become trooper, particularly when it's an elite specialist troop. It's not even a troop type
that's
like
expensive.
Terminators might be. It gets extremely expensive, and it feels limited in some way.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the more you lean
game,
okay. So you're taking 1/6 of your points with Sanguinius, and then you go, oh, I really want to get into that, so I'll take 3 units of them, and then all of a sudden that's a lot of points, and then you're like, actually, I need some assault troops as well, and all of a sudden, okay, my whole army's deploying, and these things are deploying at the back, and isn't that amazing? Yeah, but actually, I can wipe out half your army in turn 1 here now because it's so small. Okay, cool. You're number 7?
Alfarius.
7. Wow.
Yeah. You think that's low?
I think that's low. All right. Okay, go for it. Which one? Which book's he in?
I think I've done that. Yeah. Oh well, we've got him in the red book, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's good value.
Book 3. How many points is he?
415.
415. Yeah. Okay, 415. Weapon skill 7, ballistic skill 7, irrelevant. What's he got here? Let's go through him. So, Sire of the Alpha Legion. Alpharis has preferred enemy, everything, counterattack, move through cover, scout, and crusader special rules. And these only apply when he's been revealed. His whole army gets preferred enemy, everything, while he's on the table and has been revealed. That is fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Rather than deploying him, you can put him in reserves. And then after both sides are deployed, you secretly write down where he is, so he's concealed. Eligible units, infantry type and legion starts as Alpha Legion. At the start of any controlling player phase, from second turn onwards, you may choose to reveal him. He immediately replaces a single rank and file model from the unit, may act as normal from there. The model's lost, blah, 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 blah. Should the unit, and he can even do that in transports, I still think that's relevant. Should the units fall back, it immediately rallies. If it's destroyed, he comes on the back, doesn't he? Yeah, ongoing reserves. There we go. So you can shenanigans him, which is cool. Bearing in mind that Alpha Legion can almost always infiltrate anyway, so you can play around with that. And then he is okay. So long as Alpha is the army's warlord, the following is in effect. Sees on a 4+. Brilliant.
That is good. Yeah, that
It's
is good.
brilliant. Units in the primary detachment arriving via outflank may add D3 inches to their movement on the turn they arrive. That's surprisingly cool.
Is it? I didn't think that was that big a deal.
Yeah, it's things like getting if you're taking specialist weapons, if you're taking things like there's metal guns to get in half range, or they know stuff's outflanking, so they've tried to deploy deeper on. So you get in plasmas, you're maybe getting your double taps rather than your single taps. Like it just gives you and it gives you more threat as well. Like some games it won't matter, but it gives you more opportunity. And then from the second game turn on, this is really niche, but it'd be amazing. Should the enemy player roll successfully being on a unit via reserve, and the Alpha Legion contingent of the Alpharis army has the same as a unit of the same exact unit entry type held in reserve, the Alpharis player may choose to opt to roll a d6. On a 4-up, the Alpha Legion reserve unit immediately enters play this turn instead of the enemy unit. I don't know that that's ever happened anywhere, but
I think it's hilarious. I think it's the ballsiness of writing that as a rule. I think it's brilliant. It's super niche, but it's hilarious.
You could have the Alpha Legion contingent of things like a Fire Raptor or a Lightning that could be part of your army anyway and could easily be part of the enemy army anyway. So it's niche, but if it works, not bad at all.
Only on a 4+ though.
Yeah.
Still uncertain when it comes about, but yeah, I love it as a concept.
Complete bonus unit. And the other thing is, it's then on the table to potentially be shot. So you've got to, but it's then on the table for the next turn. So you've got options around it. But like how many times this happens, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever heard of it. So I'm sure it has. But yeah, and then Alpha Legion units enter play using this rule may still outflank and gain the movement bonus. And such units may be targeted by enemy units. Cool. Okay, no worries, that's fine. And then, okay, so what we got here? We've got a 2-up, 4-up again. Immunity to poison and fleshbane, which is really nice. And then the Pale Spear is AP1 melee, armor bane, instant death again. Big. 2-handed, and he's doing that with 5 attacks, so it's not bad. Preferred enemy for me is huge.
It's good. It's just the one thing though, and I just find the rest of the rules tricksy.
But it's every attack. Every attack you roll a 1,
true.
And every wound roll of a 1. Like,
and as I said before, it's the always-on abilities are really, really good.
Your whole anything that's Alpha Legion Astartes Alpha Legion is re-rolling all 1s to hit and all 1s to wound. I've had preferred enemy on Myrmidon Destructors. It's amazing. Preferred enemy, everything is amazing. It's shooting, it's combat, it's amazing. And then he himself, like half of his attacks, can like all the special rules, which can just the thing for me for Alpharis, and I won't tell you where I've put him yet. The thing for me is armies, Alpha Legion armies without him, and Alpha Legion's armies with him are very different. They feel different to play against. Yeah. The seize initiative on a 4-up means whenever you're playing the Alpha Legion, you almost want them to go first because you can't set up assuming you're going first, even on it can't be like it's a 50-50 for him to steal. So I would rather lose the roll and have them go first and then try and seize on them. He makes the army better.
This isn't helping my resolve in not starting an Alpha Legion.
No, it's things like so. And again, like preferred enemy, right? So take your drop pod support squad with 7 plasma gunners in it, right? Preferred enemy. Just make sure they do the job that you ask them to. The turn you fire your combi weapons on your veterans or whatever. Like the reliability to hit with your melter guns. How many times do melter guns roll 1s to hit? Right. Those little bits add up over the course of a 6-turn game. They add up. I think he changes his Legion more than any other Primarch changes their Legion.
I actually thought I wrote this list from memory, and I actually, from memory, I thought his rules were more complex than they are.
Yeah, same
They
here.
are not nearly as complex as some of the others on this list.
No.
And that rule, as you say, is significant. He's also pointed incredibly efficiently, I think,
Yes.
for that.
Yeah,
Now we're
and that-
talking about it. I think for that effect, that is then it's not a choice either. Okay, I'm surprised he's a 5 attack guy.
Yeah, he's got two. Yeah, yeah.
It's not bad.
He's
That's what I mean. That's not bad. I'd almost expected him to be a 4.
he's also got Cameoline, Cognisignum, Nuncio Vox. He's got a Mastercrafted Plasma Blaster. What's that? I can't even remember the rules for that, but it's got plasma in it. It must be quite good. He's for 415. Yeah, again, right. You're not going to run him into Primarchs, but that's not Alfaris. Alfaris doesn't do that.
He shouldn't.
Alfaris
No,
does.
I agree completely. He shouldn't be that. No.
Yeah, and you play mind games like Alfaris is in this army somewhere. I don't know where.
I was just rereading that actually because I wondered if you just revealed him at your choice. I didn't think you wrote down secretly. I just reread it. You obviously do, and otherwise it would be insanely powerful if you could just
because he could
choose
just where
to
he
where
needs to be.
just choose wherever he needs to be. Yeah.
But if you're half decent with like that poker side of the game, you've got 4 or 5 units. You move that one unit up, and you start getting the opponent thinking, "Shoot, where is Alfaris?" Because he's still a Primarch, and if I move away and leave 3 or 4 basic squads on one flank and the rest of my army on the other flank, if Alfaris is there, he kills them all. Like, irrelevant of what unit he's in. So, can I afford to do that? Or is he over here? Am I overthinking this? The one key is not to overpress that unit, which I've seen people do and lose it, and then he comes on ongoing reserve on the back of the table. That's less cool. Although he's got scouts, so he can still do that. But
and he's +3, but yeah,
and he's got counterattack. So if you charge him with something, he can still hurt, and he's got preferred enemy himself as well. So, like, yes, he's got 5 attacks, but on that bad roll, where you roll a couple of ones to hit and then a couple of ones to wound. Like, actually, no,
his
he's still doing
armor bane is you get an extra D6 penetration.
Yeah, armor bane's the good one.
An extra D6 penetration, strength 6, 2D6 armor penetration.
Oh yeah, so that is basically what my that's what my mechanical ordinator used to have, and it would be strength 6. That had lance as well, but strength 6 rolling 2d6, 13's on average, and it's AP1, so you only need to go slightly above average. You only need that 1 to go through. You're adding 2 to it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I suppose with 5 attacks, it's not bad. I'm just thinking again that Contemptor problem. You're going to have Contemptors running around quite a bit. Dreadnoughts as well. Dreadnoughts of any stripe. Leviathans and similar. That's a bit
an additional
scary.
D6. The thing with that is with the 5 attacks you only need 1 to get through.
You need it to pen though.
Yeah, you do need it to pen, but you're re-rolling ones to hit. But what's the strength of front of Contemptor? 13.
Yes.
So you need 1.
Leviathans 13 or 14? 13.
13. So Leviathans, like, just don't put any Primarch near a Leviathan.
No, fair enough.
You just don't want to do that anyway. But 5 attacks, re-rolling ones to hit. Not for the armor penetration, but re-rolling ones to hit. And then
you got more of the attacks,
a couple of 8s, like 1 8 could potentially do it. So, crack on. And then instant death as well for other stuff where you're in trouble. So, he's cool. I like him. But you've put Alfaris as 7.
Yeah. I partly because I think I was underestimating the simplicity of his rules. I would imagine them being more complex.
Yep.
Actually, they're more straightforward than I thought. But in terms of his, I knew he was so I put him and Gilliman together. I sort of thought, well, okay, they're both good at enhancing an army.
Yeah, I like him a lot. So your 6 was the Lion. We done that. Yeah, he is cool. He is a powerhouse in combat. There is no doubt about that.
And I think he exemplifies what his character is a lot, with one exception. Yeah.
My 6 in the end was Gulliman. So we get on to my 5. My 5 is Jagatai Khan.
Oof. I'm so close. He's my number 4.
Okay, so let me write that down. 5 and 4.
My 5 is Sanguinius. I think we mentioned that, but yeah.
Oh yes, Sangui. Where is he? He's there. Yeah, I've got him written in. Cool. So let me get the rules for Jagatai. So I'm assuming he's on a bike. To be fair, because why would you not? Frankly, where are you, Jagatai? Why can't I find you?
He's in
Because I'm
Malevolence.
looking in the wrong book.
Right.
That's why. So he is a beast. He's cool. Where are we? He's got a great model. Oh, come on, where are you? Right, scroll. Okay, 395 plus how much is the bike? 65. Ooh, 460. He's a lot.
That's not as high as I thought it was going to be. I thought the Khan was going to be. I thought
No,
the bike
Horace was always
was
going
going
to
to
be
make
the
it way
most
expensive. Yeah, but I
Always.
still thought I thought
Yeah.
the bike would make it more expensive.
So we are looking at weapon skill 7, toughness 7 on the bike, initiative 7 on the bike, because that's what I'm looking at, 8 off it. He has Crusader. He has no, he doesn't. That's on foot. He has extremely bulky and some other stuff. Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
straight away, I like the fact there's a mounted and on foot version. I think that's cool.
It is cool. So in the first turn of any combat, he always strikes first before any other models, but after Hammer of Wrath. That's not bad. Like there are edge cases that gets past any kind of rule that might stop him being able to do that. I don't think there's many, but it's all right. What initiative was he? 7. So again, mainly Primarchs, but that's fine. There might be other weird stuff. And then all White Scars get Scout. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Gives you options. Bearing in mind, like you can scout in jet bikes and stuff as well. Any unit he's with and himself, he get hit and run. Hit and run's a fantastic rule.
Really powerful.
Yeah, particularly when combined with the fact you're on a jet bike with its movement and the flying.
I think that makes them really potent.
Lightning from the sky. Where are you? When held in reserve, do not roll for him. Instead, the control player should note down the turn on which he comes on. Any unit he's with will arrive on the table, and any unit he has joined will arrive on the table before the battle begins. May not be the first turn. He cannot elect to stay in reserve. Cool, so turn 2 probably. When he arrives, he can outflank, do not roll. You choose. You note down before the battle begins which edge you want him on. Cool, if you want to use him like that, then he's in the flank. Let's do his other bits first. He's got a 2-up, 5-up during the shooting phase and a 3-up during the assault phase. And yeah, he's on a jet bike, but if they're aiming anything too hard at you and your other jet bike dudes, you're jinking anyway. So the 5-up invulnerable, like apart from stuff which can get past cover, is irrelevant. And that 3+ invulnerable save is also when you're being taken Overwatch attacks.
Yeah, that is good.
Which is pretty awesome. And he has move through cover as well, just to help you get those charges off. And then his jet bike increases toughness by 1. It's 2 mastercrafted heavy bolters, and when he makes a Hammer of Wrath, he does D3, and his jinx saves are 3+. So if he's out by himself, he's got a 3+ as well.
Yeah.
And then his white tiger Dow. So melee +1 or user, depending on whether he charges. AP2, Duelist's Edge, and Mastercrafted. So it's enough. It's enough, isn't it? At the end of the day, like whether he can survive other Primarchs, whether he can do enough damage to them over time, probably not. Comparative to the really hard ones. But he's on a jet bike and he's got a hit and run. So this guy is always where you want him to be.
Yeah.
And that's why he's up there for me.
He's a big target. Well, on jet bike, I'm assuming. Presumably this is probably going to be an absolutely massive model if and when it materialises. But as you say,
I don't think it will be.
The rules are really good.
Jet bikes have 50 mil rounds?
60, but 60 mil base, but it's just physically a big thing. You're not going to be hiding that very easily.
No.
Remember, that's one with a
but you don't need to when you're jinking.
No, exactly. That's fair enough.
And jet bikes by themselves, they're just that tough anyway that a lot of small arms fire people don't bother with.
Plus, it just makes him so effective with white scars. I mean, I know this is why Sanguinius was quite hyper, because he's very effective with the jump pack army.
Yeah.
There's just less choice with him. Here, you've got the choice of running him with or without, with Jagatai. So I think that makes him there's greater options there, which I think is a good thing. When he is running with a jet bike, it just makes jet bike's white scar armies brilliant. they already are very good. He just makes them even better. The fact that you could also choose to run him on foot, I think, is great. And I think it's quite a simplistic, and I don't mean that negatively,
Yeah,
set
no,
of
it is.
rules.
Yeah, it
But
is. It's
it
very
does
simple.
it's very simple. It's very, very hard to do. And I think
Yeah,
he's
so
done
White
it
Scars,
very good for that.
White Scars already. Like, if you haven't got maneuverability, they can pick where they attack, and yeah, you can get bogged down and whatever. He's got hit and run, so he can never get bogged down too much because, again, like you can always escape. And he's got the high initiative to do it as well, and all that jazz. So he's doing what White Scars do, just better. And when the whole army's doing that as well, then the fact is, like, somebody he's not having to walk across the table. And again, right at the start, though, he's not having to walk across the table. He's not having to get in a 300 point vehicle to get across the table.
Yeah.
He's he's in an expensive army probably, but that army works that way anyway, so it's not a major issue in that respect. He can do his thing, and you are going to have trouble getting hold of him to kill him. And even if you do isolate him, or you can choose to isolate him because you go, okay, cool, well, I'm jinking, nice. And it's only if they've got stuff that can ignore cover where that becomes an issue. There's not that much stuff that ignores cover that's that good, you know. One Typhon shot's going to do one wound to him. So, you know, that kind of thing.
He really doesn't have many downsides.
No, that's it. Like, if you play him well, and then if you want to play the more aggressive, well, no, not the more, if you want to play the role where you're right up in their grill and you want to go for keeping him in reserve, you're going to choose turn 2. You're going to choose a table edge. He's going to come on again, so you're not having to rely on that, which is really good. So you've got more, and just because you've chosen the table edge, if they've guessed right and then try and block it off, well, you don't have to come on right up there because you're on a jet bike. You've got 12 inches of movement, so you can come across. If you really want to, because you're actually, I want to be on the other side, where you turbo boost. Like, you know, there's lots going on.
He's very, very strong. Where did you put him? I've got him at number 4.
I've got him at 5.
5. Okay.
And I think I've got him at 5 because he can't solo into stuff. You can't go, oh shoot, I need to deal with that Primarch, so I will put Jagatai in and he will deal with him. He will hold him up and he will be useful, but he won't deal with him.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, that, you know, we're nitpicking at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's solid in the upper tier. He's definitely.
You had him at 4, didn't you? Yeah.
I did, yeah. I think he just pips Sanguinius because of how he interplay, because there's more choice, way more choice with him, and he's far better pointed.
Yeah, because your Sanguinius was number 5. Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely, fantastic. I love Jagatai. Okay, I will do my number 4 then, because you've got yours. Obviously, we've done it with him. Lehman Russ.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
right.
Lehman Russ is a combat dude. He's 455 points. Weapon skill 9, initiative 7 with 6 attacks. This guy can kill everyone every time arc. Yeah. Right? He's the dude when it comes to combat, and that's cool. Where are you? So he has night vision, counter attack, hunter's gate, preternatural senses special rule, +1 leadership for all space wolves, and he has the howl of the deaf wolf special rule. Page 224. Let's bring that up now and go through it because it's quite important, and it's the reason why he's this high. Frankly, is for me because he's a combat Primarch and he's limited by being a combat Primarch. So excuse me, +1 to run and consolidation, isn't it, for that thingy as well? Where's Howl of the Deaf Wolf? Here we go. So once per game, the warlord may declare the use of this special rule at the start of their player turn. For the duration of that player turn only, all run and charge distances made for models in the army may be re-rolled. So the whole army can re-roll run and, possibly more importantly, charges. And when you've got a combat legio, and particularly a combat Primarch, that's big. So it's not picking an 8, but actually, if you've got an army where you're making 5 or 6 long distance charges, the amount of times I've got 10s with 9s and 10s with rerolls, like it can happen. It really can happen. And you can go for more
it's
charges.
Everyone as well, and you
Exactly.
are likely going to have that big turn where where a large number of units, and 3 or 4 perhaps, are going to charge, particularly with Space Wolves, the way they tend to operate.
And
I think that's very effective, and more so than the Lions. Okay,
Yeah.
he's getting in, but he doesn't actually have that much dramatic effect, as we said, on his army. Whereas
and that's
Russ does.
Russ has just got that as a rule. That is a Warlord trait that Space Wolves can have, so you can have it twice.
Oh right, okay, wow.
He gets Warlord traits still, doesn't he? He does it. Does he get to choose a Warlord trait? He doesn't have one. Anyway, essentially, yeah. So remember that. So if he's your Warlord, you can have Wolf Guard, Terminator squads, and Legion veteran tactical squads as compulsory troops. Again, so you can go Pride of Legion without having to go Pride of Legion, allowing you to take another Rite of War, which is one of the more useful ones, I think, always. It's multiple options. He has 2 weapons, and he may choose to split the number of attacks between those 2 weapons, including the charging and counter-attack rules. That's cool. We'll get to that in a minute. But again, multiple weapons gives you options.
Always good. Yeah.
Always good. With his 6 attacks? Did I say 6 attacks base? So yes,
which is
so always 7 pretty much because of counter-attack. He has a 2+ and a 4+ invulnerable, which is increased to 3+ against Flamer, Melter, and Plasma weapons of any kind. So again, if there is a Melter Plasma squad running around and you need to run off to do something by yourself, you've got that bit of backup in there.
The fact that they included Plasma weapons in that, I think it makes it particularly powerful.
Yeah.
I could easily seen that being limited to Flamer or Melter.
And you might
chuck in Plasma. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. And then, in addition, any enemy models in base contact at their initiative step of the fight phase are a -1 penalty to hit in assault. Now, they changed this from the original. It then went to +2 for the second turn. They just got rid of that, didn't they? Yeah, something like that. I haven't got the thing on me. But he's -1 to hit in assault. He is weapon skill 9. He is more than double most weapon skills.
Yes.
So, a lot of stuff is hitting him on 6s.
Yes.
Like your regular Terminators, not your elite Terminators. Elite Terminators are still hitting him on 5s, but regular Terminators are hitting him on 6s. Like regular dudes are hitting him on 6s, just stopping any of those silly little wounds that you pick up in combat.
Yeah.
Then he's
which
got,
add up, of course.
Yeah, can do. Yeah. Then he's got the Sword of Bale Knight. So strength as user, which was 6, wasn't it? No, I'm trying to remember. Yep, strength 6.
Yes. Yeah.
Scrolling up and down. AP2, melee, shred, sever life. So shred's always good. If you suffer 1 or more wounds with this weapon but is not slain, roll 2d6 and compare this to the model's current toughness. If the result is greater, you take an extra d3 wounds at AP2. So this is useful for if you roll badly against a big demon or a Mechanicum thing or a Primarch. And this is what like a good roll on this is what kills the other Primarchs.
It is.
Because those wounds are AP2 against. They get their invulnerables. But you get 1 wound through, you can get 4 wounds through. Like, unlikely, but that 1 wound could become 2 or 3 wounds quite easily.
And it adds up so quickly.
And then you've got Axe of Hellwinter, which is strength +2, so strength 8, AP2, melee, Sunder, mastercrafted. Always worth putting 1 attack in this because you can re-roll it. Your cheeky extra attack can go on that. 2 good weapons, like this, you're probably going for the shred most of the time against normal stuff, but the axe has a place where some other weapons don't. He's got an AP3 12-inch gun, cool, whatever. What puts him up for me though is the Wolfkin.
Yeah.
So 100 points to add them. It suddenly gets expensive, but this means when you're running him in a unit, and good changes, you now don't get feel no pain on these guys and on Russ. Well, certainly not on Russ. It's only Legions of Astartes now, isn't it? But these guys, well, they get feel no pain 5 up anyway. So they may add to him. They deploy within 6 inches of him at the start of the game. Once deployed, they treat it as an entirely separate unit which cannot join other units except if they are within 6 inches of Lehman Russ, when they can be used for Lookout Sir rolls by the Primarch. So, they're never to be considered scoring units. They strength 5 melee rending, cool, whatever. 5 up. What's important is toughness 5 with 5 up, feel no pain.
And 4 wounds. Yeah.
Frecky's got Crusader as well. 4 wounds, yeah. And of course fear. so they can charge in as well. Fail fear test, and then you are definitely hitting on 6s. The important thing is here, if Lehman Russ is at the front of a unit or runs off by himself, things like las cannons, well, you 2-up save them onto these guys, and then 4 las cannon shots are needed to kill frickin' Gary. Oh no, they get their Feel No Pain 5-up. So you probably need 5 las cannon shots minimum to get rid of one of them. Then the other one's there. And oh, what are you firing at him? Oh, plasma. Okay, I'll take them on Russ. He's got a 3-up invulnerable against that if they wound him. Oh, what's that? He's in a unit and these are close by. Okay, well I'll tank. I'll tank these shots on Lehman Russ. Okay, I'll take that one hit on a Space Wolf in the unit. Oh, I'll take that one hit on a Wolfkin of Russ because it's its own separate lookout serve role.
I was just thinking about movement here with these guys because they're as you say, all of what you said, solid. They're beasts, so they're quite quick. Yeah. He is infantry, obviously. He's an infantry character, so he's just moving like that because they're very bulky, so they do take up quite a bit of space. But then in a Spartan, that's not a big deal.
It's really not a big deal.
Not a big deal to have him in there. He's presumably very bulky as well.
He's bulky.
No, he's just bulky. So he's taking 2 spaces?
Yeah.
And they're taking 3. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, why I've got him here is because he is he's scary. Like when you put him down on the table and people are like, "This is the combat dude." Like he is scary, because you can't just shoot him like you can with Angron. You've got to concentrate some fire on him.
Or even Sanguinius. Sanguinius gives him a run, but he's got an edge for sure.
Oh yeah. You had the dogs in for you had the unit in. Doesn't have to be Terminators with them as well because the way Grace Layers can work, that you can give them such different gear to make it work. You had the dogs in as well for more. Like it doesn't matter if all the Grace Layers die because Russ has got there and can handle it at a cheaper price than Terminators as well. And then and because he can run as well, you don't necessarily want the Terminators there if they're going to slow you down. But also, you then, once you get close, you can go, do I do it this turn? Yeah, okay. Howl the Death Wolf. Brilliant. I'll go for that 10-inch charge, that 11-inch charge. And, say 10's on a reroll, you get more than you think you do. It doesn't happen that often, but it can happen. And other units that can't charge, because again, you might have 2 or 3 units lined up. You can split those dogs off as well to go into because they're not part of the unit; they're just within 6 inches of him. So you can send them off to hold up another unit or what have you. And then if some of your army isn't charging, but you're like, actually, I could do with a run roll on that unit. Cool. And they're re-rolling their run distance as well. It's minor, but it's a little thing that works. And that's why I like Russ. He's surprisingly resilient.
He is. His only minor downside is movement, but other than that, and even that, it's not that big a deal, really. I'd say overall, because he is one of the best.
It's only minor compared to Kurz, Sanguinius, Korax, and Jagatai, and then Alpharis because he can be up the table, like whatever. But there are ways to get him in there.
It's not as useful for him.
No.
But and I think he's pointed well. He's very high for me.
Yeah,
he's my number 2.
Cool, and it's like the reason he's not higher for me is because he's a combat dude and he does combat. That's why, but he does it very well and he gets there. That's cool. I like Russ, shockingly. So he's your number 2. So who's your number? Have we done your number 4? Yes, we have, Jagatai. So your number 3?
Magnus the Red.
Magnus the Red. Okay. He's in the same book. Let's go and find him.
He kind of came back up. I actually looked at him relatively recently, and everyone's aware of where he started out, and the how potent he started out to be, and where he ended up changing. Yeah.
Oh, but he's worth it.
It's so Well, is he still 495? I think he is, isn't he? Or is
Probably,
he more now?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just
Yeah.
oh, I can't-
So what we got? So the army can use your leadership for morale and pinning, and psychic powers as well, which is pretty good. All reserve rolls
that
may
is
be
good,
re-rolled.
actually.
Again, successful ones if you don't want a unit to come on. Segmet and Terminate squads may be taken as troops. Not bad at all. And no restriction to the cult if you do that. He is the Arc Sorcerer, so he's a mastery level 5. Harnesses warp charges on a 3+, and he you must roll 3 or more 6s when manifesting to suffer perils of the warp, and any result of 1 is re-rolled on the warp table, so like protected against all of that as well. He normally randomly generates 5 powers from telekinesis, pyromancy, divination, telepathy, Santic, demonology, and biomancy, and you can choose how many oracles from each one. So you can almost guarantee what you're getting if you want to go one way. So you can build into that. He's got a 2+, 4+. If he's struck by a destroyer weapon, you -1 to the wounds taken. Yeah, cool, whatever. His weapon's a force weapon at strength +2, so strength 9, AP 1. That's not bad. He's got a strength 8, AP 2, 15-inch assault D3 Soul Blaze gun, which actually I forgot about, which is pretty good. When selecting targets for the psychic powers, all models within range are assumed to be line of sight, and ignore cover special rule is fantastic if you want to go the destructive way. He's -1 to hit, period, like from shooting and combat, and add 1 to the scatter roll for barrage weapons. And then when you're manifesting a Witchfire power, Magnus Red's controlling power can declare the use of Mind Wrath. So before the dice rolled, the required warp charge is +2. However, you add 2d6 to the list of any strength.
Well,
Has it changed?
Yes, significantly.
Yes, it did. Didn't it?
I mean, they did entirely replace.
Yes.
They said they pretty much.
I couldn't remember how they changed it, to be fair. But
it was substantial. So he's the same price when
Yeah.
they changed this, because they said just replace his entire profile, because he
Yeah.
was just mainly because of that rule, mind
Yes.
that he could make these. He was pretty straightforward for him to throw out strength D templates left, right, and centre.
Yeah, well, he could do strength areas as well.
Yeah.
He could do auras, yeah.
Yeah, so that was
Yeah, it was
horrendous.
stupid. Yeah.
So that they have changed that to, you can still get that. He's 495 points base. He Sire of 1,000 Suns, Arch Sorcerer, yeah. The Horn Raven, Blade, same pair, Sci-Fi Serpenter, Eye of the Crimson King. The big change, though, is that Mind Wrath and the additional Infernal Bargain are an optional upgrade for 175 points.
Oof. See, I don't think he needs it.
I think that's the case, and I think that's
I mean,
kind of how they
175
pointed it.
points.
I know. That's how much. Now, the Infernal Bargain
660
says
points.
that you can, once per game,
70 points.
you can choose to cancel the results of a single Perils of the Warp anywhere on the table. Okay. Little extra.
Yeah.
But the Mind Wrath thing is entirely there. When manifesting Witchfire power,
Yeah.
Magnus Stress controlling player can declare use of Mind Wrath. Done before. Required warp charge is increased by 2. You add however, if the power is successfully met, add D6 to any listed strength.
Cool.
To a maximum of 10. And double the listed range.
So any Witchfire, so it still allows some of your bigger effect powers, but less strength.
Yeah.
It's still very powerful potentially.
It is.
So if you're going to do that, you're obviously going to lean into that. I don't necessarily think I would. I think the ability to, I think one of the problems with Magnus is people go, oh yeah, Court of the Crimson King, Sekhmet Terminators, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you've got like 1,000 points in one unit without a transport. Like, cool, yeah, brilliant. But you don't need the Sekhmet with him to do it. Like, if he picks the right psychic powers, he can make anything really hard to kill, or he can be throwing stuff out. And it's the flexibility of being allowed to take those different psychic powers, the option to take the Mind Wrath if you want at a lot of points.
He's also got. He does have quite. He interacts with the Legion quite well, particularly with the Psychic Arcana of the 1,000 Suns. If you take him, you're less restricted. Whereas if you take
a regular warlord of 1,000 Suns. You have to effectively pick your Arcana, and you're locked into it. Whereas with him, you've got far more flexibility. It's a very 1,000 Sun specific.
Yeah,
obviously, 1,000 Sun specific benefit, but it is something worth considering with him.
Yeah, warp charges on a 3+ when you're manifesting with a Psychic mastery level of 5. Like, not that many times you'll be coming up against like people with that many dice against you anyway, so you tend to just choose what you're doing. Like, yeah, could cast that, cool, groovy, I'm amazing. I would have to sit down with that book for a long time and work out like how I would go about it. But you can make, because if you've got Biomancer, you can make him extremely hard to hurt as well. Like, it can be done. Like, I've done it but I've mainly done it because people have invested so many points in so few units that I'm like, cool, my whole army's firing at Magnus and his squad, and I've killed his whole squad. Now it's just Magnus, cool, and I've hurt him a little bit. Give me another turn or two, and I will take him down. Because I haven't had the other threats that I think help keep him, and that's why. That's why he's up there for me.
Yeah, I think, and also I think, despite the fact that they've had a couple of goes at it, the rules, they changed, but there's a lot of the core stuff is still there. I think the effect he has on his Legion is good. I think he captures what the image of Magnus is very well. There's instability there because it's psychic powers. He's not an absolute beat stick in and rob himself, but he's potent.
Yeah, reroll reserve rolls is always useful.
Very useful. He's also making Sekhmet and Legion Terminators troops.
Yeah.
He's very good and very thematic, and I think that's strong. He's very expensive, as he should be, even more so, obviously, with the change, because the first version was horrific. So, he's high for me for that reason. He's top 3.
Yeah, he's only got 4 attacks, but I just don't feel that you'll get those stuff into him that, because he's got the psychic powers around him, he can thin stuff out as he needs. But yeah, he's cool, super cool.
I'm surprised he's as strong as he is. I suppose that's to do with his stature.
Oh yeah, he's huge. He was always it's talked about him being strong. That's super cool. For me, he was number 2.
Okay.
He was number 2. People are trying to work out who we haven't said now, aren't they? It's all good.
So you had Russ at 3?
I had Russ at 4.
4? Who was your 3?
3 is Horus.
Okay.
Trying to find Horus's rules.
Oh my goodness! Right. Okay. Interesting. Let's see where you.
Where's Horus's rules when I need him? Where are you, you little pain? There we go. Horus the War Master, 500 points. Weapon skill 8, strength 7, 5 attacks. That's less relevant because of stuff later on. Teleportation matrix, Cognus Signum. He is the War Master has 2 close combat weapons and may wield them simultaneously. Again, splitting his attacks between them. Useful. When Horus fights a unit or character with weapon skill 4 or less, he gains plus D3 attacks, which is just phenomenal for getting through that stuff. If he is placed in reserve and his unit, then his player may select which turn he arrives in from the second onwards. Again, it's just such a useful rule if you want to do it that way. It allows you the option of, again, not needing the transport. Any part of a force containing Horus placed in reserve gains the outflank rule, so outflanking for anything in your army is fantastic. +1 leadership up to 10 if he's present, and seizing the initiative on a roll of a 4+ is amazing. Tactical squads and just daring, maybe taking his troops. And he can cool down a single precision orbital bombardment attack in the shooting phase once per game. It is Ordnance 1, large 5-inch blast, Lance, twin-linked, strength 10, AP2, so slightly different.
Lance is brutal.
Lance is good. I think I prefer Perturabos for the AP. His is AP1, wasn't it? Perturabos. Yeah, and I think I prefer that, but still very good.
That's kind of his thing, whereas this is just a sort of a nice little add-on.
Yeah, you've got Ordnance on there as well, so it's doing well. He has a 2+, 3+. Armor also negates any psychic attack directed at the War Master or any effect that would adversely modify his characteristic profile on a d6 roll of a 3+. So, that's great when that happens. His 2 weapons: Worldbreaker, Strength 10, AP 2, Melee, Mastercrafted, Concussion, Unwieldy. No problem dealing with any dreadnoughts coming at him. And then the Talon, Strength as user, AP2, Melee, Shred, Disabling Strike. So double benefits here. So if you're fighting tanks, you take Worldbreaker. Cool. If you're fighting against like a massive infantry's coming up that's fearless, you take the Talon for Shred, and you're getting the plus D3 attacks against stuff like that as well. So you're coming in with 6 to 8 attacks that are shredding through stuff. Amazing. Disabling Strike. Basically, any model wounded but not slain is -1 weapon skill and strength for the rest of the game. It's cumulative across multiple assault phases.
And cumulative. It's so rude.
So this is what makes him. That's the thing that pushes Horus up near the top of the Primarch fights. It's the Disabling Strike.
The number of battle reports I've seen with him in, and that's come into play so many times.
Yeah, and people were like, when the line came out, I mean, it's irrelevant. Chances are you're killing them. Well, you can take Worldbreaker if you really want to kind of destroy stuff because it's strength 10
squash
anyway.
something. Yeah,
exactly. But people are like, the Lion, can he take on? He always hits on a 4+, brilliant, but your strength's going down the whole time. And more importantly, Horus, whose weapon skill 8, is hitting you on 3s. Like, what you never hit on more than less than 4's great, wonderful. He's always hitting you on 3s after the turn, after he's done a wound. It's fantastic. And again, if you want to, you can swap them out, Worldbreaker, and you can do big strength stuff if you want to. It's you want to get those disabling strikes through when you're fighting other Primarchs. It makes it that he can beat Russ occasionally. I think Russ still wins most. It basically comes down to, do you get the disabling strikes through? Does Russ get his thingy cut through, whatever it's called? Which over the course of the game,
thread cutter or whatever.
It's down to dice.
Does that? Does he get his 3+ save against
that? You get
Horus get his 3+ save?
You get your 3+ save against each wound.
Yes.
You don't get armor saves. You get invulnerables.
Yes, but he has then the armor also negates any psychic attack directed at the War Master or any effect that would adversely modify his characteristic profile
wounds
on a D6 roll of a 3+.
Yeah, but it just does wounds. It doesn't do anything else. It's wounds.
Oh, I see. Right, got it.
Yeah,
I just thought about that -1 thing.
That would affect things like blind, which would be quite good actually. And then the War Master and any attached Terminator units may choose to deep strike and will not scatter whilst doing so to double down on him coming in on the turn he chooses. He, like, when I was like, oh, how good is Horus? I was like, oh yeah, he can beat stuff in combat. I know he's quite good for the army. It's like, actually, outflank for all reserve units and gaining the initiative on a 4+ with the +1 leadership is really good.
I know what I was thinking about with Russ. Russ's armor.
The -1 to hit.
Enemy mod, -1 to hit. Does Horus give? He presumably gets a 3+ save against that.
No.
But
doesn't modify his characteristic profile.
I see.
It doesn't affect his character. It doesn't change his characteristic profile. It gives a -1 to the dice roll.
Got it. Key difference.
No.
Got it.
So again, and that's one of the big things in that fight is Russ.
So I remember that being significant in
his weapon skill 9.
Yeah.
So Russ is hitting Horus on 3s to start with, at least to start with. But Russ is hitting Russ on 5s, which partly can stop the disabling strike. Yes, because
it's 4s, isn't it?
4s -1.
Oh, goodness me!
Yeah,
right.
So you might not even get that disabling strike through because he's got 5 attacks.
Yeah.
So it's harder, but if he does get it through, even then, it's only ever going down to 4s unless Russ gets to weapon skill 4, which he's dead.
That's a lot of combat.
It's basically
that's a lot of wounds he's taken.
Exactly,
well.
And Russ is and if Russ gets one good swing through with that sword, it accelerates the fight because they've only got 6. You do 1 wound plus the D3. obviously it gets saves, but if you can get 2 or 3 wounds through in one phase, it accelerates that fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does he's got the bombardment as well, which helps. It's just a nice thing to have. The 3+ invulnerable means he's staying around. I say the 2 weapons plus the D3 attacks if your weapon skill 4 or less means he's not getting bogged down in stuff. Yeah, he's the big daddy.
I'm actually slightly surprised he doesn't have more of an impact on his legion.
I think 4+ seizing is a powerful ability.
Yes.
Being able to gain outflank for any part of your unit. That's outflanking Spartans. That's outflanking Terminators. He could deep strike them or outflank them.
Oh yes, yes. It is under God of Battle. Sorry, I was still rereading under Sire of the Sons of Horus and seeing.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, okay.
A lot you've got to consider within that. Plus the +1 leadership. Plus he's a beat stick in combat.
It's actually more effective because that is not limited to Sons of Horus. Any unit, part of a force containing.
Yeah.
So you've got allies in there.
Yeah. So and how far do you go with him? The more rules you want him to be a beat stick.
Yeah.
You want him to be good. If you make him too good, at what point do you start 550?
Yeah, exactly. He's 500 points, which I think he's worth.
Yeah.
Well, he that neatly brings me to that is he.
But
is
the only reason he's below Magnus is, and it might change if I'd studied the psychic powers, is the ability to mix up the psychic powers. And the fact that you're really the one thing that Horus does is a lot of people will deep strike him with Terminators around, and it just seems like Magnus is less. Like Magnus could walk across the battlefield and be effective. Horus wants to be out there doing his thing.
Yeah,
that's all. That's literally it. Cool.
I think he entirely encapsulates what Horus is about, though, and has some of the most effective, reliable rules across the board.
And that is why he's your number 1.
Exactly that.
Because your Russ is number 2, and you put Horus there as number 1.
I did.
Now, can you work out who my number 1 is?
It's Alfaris. Which I understand, given your reasoning.
I absolutely think he affects the Legion more than any other Primarch.
That's really interesting. That is there, which is something I hadn't appreciated. I thought was much more complicated than that. Which clearly I wasn't familiar with his rules. But I agree with you. He should be high. Yeah,
a good player with Alpha Legion. Like when my mate brought him out for the first time, he was like, it's playing a different army. Like, he brings just lots of rules.
That could be seen. I mean, that isn't necessarily a positive, the way that's described. It clearly is. It's clearly meant in the spirit of being.
That's what he's designed to do. I feel that. Anyway,
it's playing a different army, but it's not.
And I value that
different enough
as
they
well.
Don't like it. Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. I value that more than just going up and beating stuff up.
Agreed.
And that's why Russ isn't 2 or 1, 2 or 3. That's why he's 4. That's why Jagatai is above Sanguinius. That kind of thing. There, I think there's definitely been a sort of power creep generally.
I think you're right. Which Horus is a bit of a break from
an outlier. Yeah.
But the reason I've got them ordered the way I have, which is a slight rejigging of that, is it's not purely the hitting power by any stretch of the imagination. It's how well they capture what that Primarch is about. I think I've got Alfarius a bit wrong. I think I've underestimated what he's about.
Maybe other people think I'm wrong.
Yeah, but you make a strong argument with that, and you go through when we've gone through the rules. I think that's the case. But I think the reason I've ordered them that way is not purely on their fighting capability or otherwise. I just think they capture that, and I think Horus is the best of those. I think he captures what it is to be the War Master in terms of everything kind of revolving around him very, very well. And it would be really interesting of the law
to see if they redesign them now. Kind of how much they would change, what they would change, would they change much? That kind of thing.
Would they change them? I mean, it's such a big move to do. Would you redesign them? That's a huge job. Do you think we'll see another Horus?
Yes.
Another rules that
Horus Ascended
and empowered. Yeah, exactly.
Empowered Horus empowered. Yeah. I think there'd be idiots not to.
Yeah.
New model.
New
demon,
model, I think, for sure.
demon.
Yeah.
His physical stats need to go up. He is bigger than he was. He is more
Yes.
imposing than he was.
It's even discussed, isn't it, in Black Library? Yeah.
I would actually reduce his abilities that he gives his army.
Yes, entirely. I agree.
Yeah. And
Make
I
him
would
much
give
more
him.
about himself.
I would give him slightly different ones. Potentially, I'd start again on that, and put him in. I think they should do it definitely.
I think the idea of him as well being represented by him bringing perhaps access rather than buffing his own legion, it gives you access to some demons or something, or something comes in that way to say, actually, I've got allies here. I am the War Master. I can draw upon resources that no one else can.
Yeah, there could be some really funky rules around like mixed forces or or something like that.
Which would be quite unique to him.
Yeah, it could be. You could almost have a Legion of Horus kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially, but who knows? Who knows? We've been recording quite a long time.
It's a big topic.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was.
We thought
2.5 hours. Big topic.
We thought we'd smash this out in one session.
Yeah, I kind of as soon as we started recording, I was like, that was never going to happen. It looks like we're not going to finish this in episode 150. We will have to push on to episode 151 to talk about the background. In a weird way, it could be quicker, it could be longer.
It could go either way, couldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we might have to be more focused on that. But I've got keeping scores here. I wonder if it's quite interesting already to see how some of them have grouped together and some of them have. I say our groupings were fairly close on a lot of those.
I think that's fascinating that we were so different on the models and yet actually surprisingly close. With
I think
one or two exceptions.
I think there are some standout. Like these are poorer than these ones. I think there is definite easy to do that. I think background could be completely different because it's so subjective. Even though this isn't subjective at all, this is absolute fact. So just remember that. Oh, we'll leave that there then, and we can talk about that next show.
Enjoyed that. Another good session. We've got to do We've got to do a roundup of these scores at some point.
Oh, we will. Don't you worry about that. I've got them all written down. I have to keep them safe for another recording episode. It's all good.
Keep them secret.
Awesome.
Keep them safe.
Yeah, indeed. Cheers, man.
Cheers, man.
And thank you for listening to another episode of the Imperial Truth Podcast. Just wanted to say, we meant to say it in the intro bit, Howard and I actually had a discussion about it, but during the recording of the Primarch sections, for all of them really, but certainly for this one, we are, like, we do mention it a little bit, but we're talking in context. So I realised kind of listening back, editing, sometimes we're talking about, say, a Primarch in position number 4, and we're pointing out things that appear to be more towards the negative side. And I think it's just the assumed assumption, as it were, assumed knowledge that we already think they're good because we placed them up that level. And it happens down the bottom as well when we talk about why they're not up levels. But the kind of general approach is like they're in the top 5 already. We don't. We talk a little bit about how good they are, but then there's an element of here's the reasons why they're not higher. So I just wanted to make sure that came across. I'm sure it will to a lot of people, but just thought, as I said, we talked about it. We said maybe we should mention it, and then we completely forgot because, well, you've listened to the show, so you know what happens. So I thought I'd throw it in the end. That's, partly what the end can be used for, so that's good. If you completely disagree with us, I'm sure plenty of people will on the rules, then you can always leave comments on the Facebook page, on the notes for this thread, notes for this show. You can email Greg at theimperialtruth.com. There is Twitter, imperial_truth. There's Instagram as well, Child of Fang. Child of Fang on Twitter is me as well. All that usual stuff. But yeah, anything you want to feedback to us on, query us on, question us on, point us out where you think we've gone wrong, feel free to do that in the right manner. And moving into 2022 for the next episode, got some ideas percolating, trying to work out how to do them for that year. But if you have any ideas and thoughts on what you want to do moving forwards, what suggestions for topics for the show, or how we handle certain stuff, then feel free to let us know, and we can see what we can do with those. Hopefully, we're going to hit 2022 running. But based on the last 2 years, let's not make too many assumptions moving forwards. I hope you guys have a good break if you're getting one over that Xmas period. For those who don't do Christmas, maybe you got some time off anyway. Who knows? Don't be too hard on yourselves if you don't get too much hobby done. We know how it works. Sometimes those days off end up being just recuperation days or whatever, or invariably around this time of the year, family going to see them ends up taking a lot of time. And it's not a great time for everyone anyway. Christmas can be hard for some people, so if it is, go easy on yourself. Do what you need to do to get through it, and you absolutely have my sympathies on that. But hopefully we can, as I say, head into what promises to be quite a year for the heresy in 2022. So fingers crossed for that. I'm warbling now, as usual. This is going to take some editing, this little section. Hopefully you won't get too much of that come through. So we're going to leave it there. Until next time, you have been listening to The Imperial Truth.